Welcome back, everyone, to the second page where we are talking past the points. My name is Joseph Oswald. Joining us, as always, the man behind R Squared Network, Stephen Johnson.
At your service.
How you doing, Steve? And of course, my good friend and co-host.
Jay Martinez here. Welcome to episode 103. This week we'll be talking about Bob Mueller's indictments that were released on Monday, the GOP tax reform, the New Jersey gubernatorial race, which is very important,
And Jay in the house.
and Jay in the house, Trump's Asia trip, which is 12 days long, and then we're going to do a quick rundown of the DNC story with Donna Brazil, Papa John's, the NYC attack, and then
Tommy Loren.
Tommy Loren.
She
Can
hates
never
when
say her
people
name right.
mispronounce her name.
Great. So I'm freaking glad it's pissing her off.
Hey, Bob.
But anyway, so again, welcome to the show, and let's kick it off. So this past Monday, no, October 30th, Bob Mueller released his first indictments, and former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort
Played a very small role. I actually don't even know his name.
and his longtime business partner Rick Gates were indicted on 12 counts. We can quickly go through those: conspiracy against the United States, conspiracy to launder money, an unregistered agent of a foreign principal, false and misleading FARA statements, false statements, and 7 counts of failure to report foreign bank and financial accounts. Hours later, as you know, this was all hitting the fan, everyone found out about George Papadopoulos. And the crazy thing was that he was arrested back in July, and this was all kept pretty mum, which in DC is crazy. And then basically now he's a state witness and he looks like a snitch. But basically, so the thing is, what do you guys think about the indictments? Do you think there's any bite behind them? Do you think this automatically will now bring down Trump? Is this just the tip of the iceberg, or is this a smoking gun?
Well, I'll tell you this much: no one eats a whole cake in one bite. You know, Mueller has baked a surprise up, and it's multi-layered. You had Papadopoulos flip at the first sign, pleading guilty. I mean, that's a guilty plea. The man's 30 years old. He does not want his entire life to be based on this. He's got probably many more years ahead of him if something doesn't happen to him, as some people would claim happens to people that talk. What is
He
it?
also
Adage,
probably
snitches
thinks he's
get
too
stitches.
pretty for jail.
Oh yeah,
So
he probably am. With
Oh,
a name
no.
like Papadopoulos, you don't want to end up in jail.
No, and now he looks like a weasel. I
So the
mean.
point is, he obviously flipped for a reason, and that's immunity. You know, you
of course,
you
the only
flip
reason.
witness for the state, and you gain some kind of protection. You don't serve any jail time, or something happens where you're probably okay. You know, a lot of people keep talking about the whole pardons and all that kind of thing, and everybody's like, oh well, what are these people going to do? Why would they even bother saying anything if Donald Trump's going to pardon them? Well, you can't pardon someone who hasn't been found guilty yet. That's why Sheriff Joe Arpaio still had to be found guilty before Trump let him go. The Paul Manaforts, the Rick Gates, the Papadopouloses of the world, they are basically doing things like waiting to find out where the grand juries are brought up and being like, when was the last time I was there? Because anybody associated with Donald Trump at this point has either got to put a significant amount of distance between themselves and him, or they have to go back and, as Trump says, he has the greatest memory in the world. They too need to remember.
Until he says he doesn't remember.
Until he says he doesn't remember what happened in his own building. But if these people have to now start building a defense, we're not even 1 year into a presidency, and more than half the people working for him are either resigning, withdrawing their support for him, or finding some way to be like, well, you know, I don't really remember what I was doing. You know, they're spacing out, as I like to say, where they don't remember what they did, but if they did, they're sorry.
One thing with Papadopoulos that I think we should take note of, he was arrested back in June.
July.
And
I think it was.
July,
Yeah,
June.
one of the
But
days.
we are just finding out. We just found out about it this week.
That's a big deal.
Now, and also he's been listed as an active participant,
Yeah,
right?
tell you, he
Or
flipped for a
active
reason.
cooperator,
Yeah.
aka wire,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Oh, Papadopoulos,
Wow,
the wiretap.
bringing something else into the mix. Okay.
All right.
So-
Listen, if he is really that much of an informant for Mueller, like I said, I mean, it's just the top layer here. There's obviously going to be some more that comes out, and I would be wholly and 100% surprised if this was the tail end of it. If this was it, he was just those indictments, and they were just going to go after Manafort and Gates, and that's basically it. Because the collusion claims that everybody gets all hyped up over, and the second page we're trying to not talk about the same things that every other person's talking about. I mean, these collusion claims, they are serious. Republicans want to go after Hillary Clinton for Uranium One and for the rigging the DNC thing that we're going to talk about later, but they don't want to talk about possible collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. And just on the other side, Democrats don't want to talk about anything to do with Hillary Clinton. She lost. We've gotten over it. The Civil War's over. Confederates get over it. They say the same.
I mean, there's more credence to that argument because it is over. She's not even a political.
Exactly.
She's nothing anymore right now to Trump.
Citizen.
Yeah, she's a private citizen.
She wrote a book.
But what I really think that these indictments are right now is just a show of strength on Bob Mueller's part.
Opening salvo.
Yeah, he's basically telling Trump. Because look, to be fair to Trump, in this moment in time, I don't think any of these indictments per se prove anything about his collusion. I mean, there's definitely some smoking guns there. There has to be something that Mueller's building to. This is just the beginning of it. But the reason I say it's a show of strength is because he did two things, like Steven just brought up. Not only did he keep Papadopoulos' arrest in July under wraps, which in DC nothing. I mean, look at
Damn,
the White House.
Mueller is good.
And there were no spoilers. You can't even hide an iPhone.
No, like people know before. Like I mean, in 5 seconds of someone saying something has been leaked, especially in this White House. So for him to have kept this under wraps since July is really a big deal.
Which leads to believe that there's more coming.
Yeah,
and what everybody wants to see.
Exactly. And then if you look at how also it was released that day. So on Monday, early morning, right? And you knew this was happening since Friday. You just didn't know who it was. And then the the indictments were unsealed that morning.
It really is like a TV show.
It was almost, but it was also like a sign of this is who you could be or this is who you could be. So he was telling everyone in Trump's circle and Trump's area of gravity that you either cooperate and become a George Papadopoulos, and he's only been charged with one thing, which was lying to the FBI about working or knowing, and that's only a 5-year sentence, which will get severely reduced if he does cooperate. And then you could be not helping me or not cooperating, and then be in the position that Gates and Manafort are in. Which, I mean, they're looking at serious jail time. I think I read something that 80 years if convicted on all charges. Of course, it won't be 80.
Like 8 days until the ink dries on the pardon papers.
But
if
also, how do you guys feel about the $5 and $10 million bail that they set?
Well, they not only that, but they secured his passports. They're under house arrest.
House arrest with
the
GPS
president's all like,
monitoring.
oh, that's not fair.
Yeah.
These guys didn't do anything. They're not going to leave. I mean, they found 3 different passports for this guy. I mean, these people are clearly, if not guilty, then they are definitely involved in something that is not in the benefit or the best interest of the United States. You got Trump, tweeting all these things about how Bo Bergdahl should have been, executed because of desertion and misbehavior. At the same time, the judge that let him off with no jail time said it's because you talked.
Yeah.
STFU, President Trump, you caused this sentence to happen because you can't control yourself. Now he's saying the same things about these people, and it could just flip the opposite way because he's so adamant that these people should not be treated this way, that they should be given some kind of clemency, that it will make him look even more guilty, especially to political opponents of his.
And my issue with Trump right now is that one of two things happen, and neither one of them are good. So one is that he knew Paul Manafort and Rick Gates' resume, which, I mean, these people for decades have been working for despots. I mean, they were working for Ukrainian, government that was closely tied to Russia. Yeah, and I mean, you can just tell that their interests are not aligned. They're hiding money offshore. They're not forthcoming 3 passports. I mean, what is he? James Bond? Like, this is ridiculous.
He thinks he is.
Probably.
Yes, he is James Bond.
Now
I
we
think
know.
that's actually what one of the names on the passport says.
Really?
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm
Awesome.
kidding.
No, I know. So Trump either knew and was okay with hiring people like this to work and manage his campaign, or B, he didn't know. So, I mean, that just proves either willful or just flat out ignorance and not being able to do your job right. And then now he's running the U.S. So, I mean, either way, you're not innocent. And again, it came up that Papadopoulos in a meeting with Jeff Sessions in there and everyone in there, including Trump, had brought up the idea of maybe meeting with Vladimir Putin during the election. Okay. So, I mean, all these things are coming out. And
about that instance.
Yeah.
With the revelation that Jeff Sessions was in the room where Papadopoulos suggested this, Jeff Sessions turned it down.
Yeah.
However, Jeff Sessions testified twice
Perjured himself.
in front of the Senate and said he had nothing to do with and knew of no one that had anything to do with Russia or had any discussions. And he took umbrage the second time because how dare Al Franken suggest that he wasn't telling the truth?
I mean, the man, Jeff Sessions, has been someone who's been, just salivating over the possibility of getting somewhere because he was turned down for federal judgeship, and everybody knew that despite how much he says he's not a racist or a bigot or any of these things, you judge people by their actions a lot.
Or a
more
real
often.
boy.
I'm a real boy. But the man obviously has some issues that do not align with the vast majority of what people in this country think we need in someone running the Justice Department, the department responsible for justice, not the Department of Fairness, not the Department of, I'm not a racist, it's the Justice Department. He's running it. He's recused himself from issues already from the very beginning because he was obviously not the man for the job, but Trump tapped him and he's like, oh crap, I finally get to do something. I'm going to be the Attorney General. I'm going to put stars on my shirt. And I bet you he has pajamas that have stars on it. And not like a flag.
He's also going to try to put a lot of people back in prison.
Yeah, because they smoke some pots, some marijuana pots.
And it'll only be black and brown people. By the way.
And of course that leads straight to heroin. So,
yeah.
But the fact is that Jeff Sessions, being the leader of a Justice Department, should have known from the very beginning you perjure yourself and you're going to end up in trouble. I mean, Bill Clinton was impeached and almost removed because he lied to Congress. The president was almost removed from office because he lied about fellatio, about getting a little Hummer under the desk with a cigar, and not this. I'm not supporting and saying that was a good thing, but I'm just saying that there was a point when Republicans thought, and regardless of the fact that I know Bill Clinton's a Democrat, but there was a point when the Republicans in Congress thought that perjury, lying to Congress, was a
punishable
was a
offense.
super punishable, not just punishable, but I don't know what's above punishable.
No, here's the thing. And this is a common trope that I'm noticing, and this is the beauty of what we're seeing in America right now. I get that it's scary, but we see people's true intentions, right? We understand now that the deficit wasn't a problem for these people. So essentially they care about the deficit when a Democrat is in office. Mm-hmm. They care about values and truth when a Democrat is in office. They care about the Constitution when a Democrat is in office.
They care about soldiers' lives.
Again, all of that when a Democrat is in office. And these are just tools that they use to advance whatever agendas that they have. So let's be clear and understand that they don't, no one cares, right?
Yeah.
There are two things they care about, and I don't want to generalize, right? But and I will ask this question every week. How much are these tax cuts worth?
Well,
right? So you either believe that stuff and you believe tax cuts are more important or a Supreme Court justice is more important, or you don't believe that stuff and you were just using it the whole time to advance your agenda. So either one is scary.
Well, I mean, same as you say, you'll say it every week. I'll say it every chance I get. Neil Gorsuch is sitting in a stolen seat. And just like art is stolen, no matter how many times it passes down the line, any decision, anything he says is always tainted with the fact that the Republican Congress thought that a president who had been president for almost 8 years, who was a constitutional law scholar, somehow was not qualified enough to pick a Supreme Court justice. But Donald Trump, a man who's never done anything for anybody, who's never read the Constitution, who's never studied law, has only been sued 1 million times, or maybe that's the extent of his legal knowledge. Somehow he had the knowledge and foresight and the ability
but
to
he
appoint
didn't
someone.
pick him. He was told who to pick.
Listen, there was a time that you're right about that. But there was a time when Paul Ryan, our Aaron Rodgers man in the Congress, thought that you shouldn't rush bills. When Barack Obama was president, we shouldn't rush bills. We need to look at everything from every angle. Mitch McConnell sending letters to Chuck Schumer.
That's my point, though. Did they actually think that, or is that just what they're saying because the other side?
No, I think everyone believed that to an extent, and I think everything changed in 2008 when obstructionism became the main way of governing. Because then you got your first black president, and as Mitch McConnell said it wasn't their job to govern. It was their job to make him a one-term president. Mm-hmm. That was their main goal. So I think shit really hit the fan was in 2008 or 2010, I guess, after the midterms, in which the Senate and Congress flipped. But I mean, I really want to talk about tax reform because it is important. But let's really just go back and wrap up the Mueller indictment. So besides it being a power move, do you guys think that at this moment in time, this is really going to affect Trump aside from just bad publicity in a moment when he's going, on a 12-day trip to Asia, etc.? Or is this just the beginning of the end and we're going to see a lot more people being, indicted or locked up, whatever, before it gets to Trump?
I'm going to say a lot of all of the above, and it's going to end up looking like the last 2 years of the Reagan administration, where you get so hammered from every angle with all these people and high profile people being against you and pointing out the truth. And eventually, no matter how far you stick your fingers in your ear, you will start hearing some of the truth. And his supporters will be chipped away at until you just are left with the most extreme of the extreme, the 5% of the population that elected him in the first place, that put him in the primaries and stuff. You're going to see that he's not going to be able to get anything done, despite the fact he hasn't been able to get anything done now.
Yeah.
And because the Supreme Court is talking about gerrymandering, and NPR was talking about it today too, it's going to be really difficult to get any sort of a chance for either impeachment or anything like that to happen, especially because it's almost impossible to flip the House back.
And to your point, which is a crazy thing happening now, I don't know them by name, and I did not bring my list with me, but there's, I think, another 4 or 3, long, career Republicans that are not running again. They're just retiring. So instead of fighting Trump, instead of putting, or, being the courageous one and standing up like Flake and some of the other guys, people are just quitting. And who do you think is going to fill those seats?
I don't know how courageous Flake.
Well, yeah, I know. We've gone through that. But, I'm just using the word. But all I'm saying is no one is standing up to Trump, and the people that should be are just quitting instead of doing it. And I'm scared of the people that will fill in those seats are going to be Trump apologists or Trump supporters. And no matter what he does, save kill someone, they're not going to impeach him. So I think we're stuck with him for 4 years, especially, depending how the midterm goes or how Mueller's investigation goes. But again,
sure, if you got the memo, but he could shoot someone on the street
and not go to jail.
So
Fifth Avenue.
Just Fifth Avenue. Now he's in D.C., so
yeah, so
they don't like guns so much in D.C.
But
speaking of which,
but again, the indictments were a big deal. It's just the tip of the iceberg, we think, and it's definitely keep an eye out there. But it's big news. It's definitely something that warranted us taking 10 minutes to talk about.
But of course, when you have big news like that, the commander-in-chief is also the distractor-in-chief, and he wants you to always be looking at something else. And that big something else right now is tax reform. The man thinks that he's a mesh-up of Andrew Jackson and Ronald Reagan rolled into one big taco bowl.
And he's neither.
Nice, well-done steak with ketchup eaten with a fork.
Yeah, by the way, did you know? Well, I don't want to insult anything.
It doesn't matter.
No, I'm sorry. You don't eat freaking well-done steak with ketchup. That's another reason why I don't like Trump. You just don't do that.
You like what you like, and I get, there's some people out there that eat bugs and they enjoy weird things that we don't like, but the man clearly doesn't have anything in common with anybody. I mean, he lives in a golden tower.
And why should we trust
his third wife?
And why should we trust his tax reform when we haven't even seen his taxes? How is this going to help him?
Bill Pascrell, good representative from New Jersey Congress, always standing up for people, especially in situations like this. He's always looking out for the middle class. And he's trying to lead this charge to get those tax returns out. But I agree with you, and I agree with the memes going around social media. Why the hell does this man, who refuses to show us his taxes, who thinks that he's smart for having not paid taxes, why does he get to suddenly propose all these ideas and say how the rest of the country should be paying for the things that he never paid for in the first place?
Yeah.
I'm not I don't ever consider myself a Trump basher.
No one cares.
They do,
and
this thing they do, and that's why
we
this
do
tax
care.
plan is
It's
very
just
important.
a representatives don't care enough to do something about it.
Don't care. This is essentially what they want. How can the man who is continually disrespected soldiers of this nation and the family of soldiers, Gold Star families, Gold Star mothers. Do you know what I mean? And we're gonna say that's the guy that we look to say that the NFL protest is wrong and that's disrespecting our soldiers,
or that we should have Neil Gorsuch sitting on the Supreme Court.
But I think
that gets me burned.
So again, it just highlights the fact that none of this is about real principles. I think people just have these feelings inside and they can use these things as an excuse.
Yeah, but I think we're missing maybe a couple of points here. He's at the lowest he's ever been. I think the last Gallup poll had him at 30%. I mean, that's not a large approval rating. We do focus a lot on his base supporters, which are right. No matter what this guy does, they're not gonna deter from being his supporters, but there's not a lot of them. And right now in the House and in the Senate, there's some Republicans that don't like tax reform as it is. I think the Senate has a different version of the bill
Yeah.
floating around there. But just to touch on it a little bit. So there's I think 1.5 trillion dollars no, I'm sorry, $1 trillion in cuts for business, and it's proposing to cut the corporate tax from 35 to 20%. Forgetting, and like you said, he thinks he's a Reagan, forgetting that Reagan actually increased the corporate tax, right? And
I'm not sure about that.
I think, hold on, I
And
have
then,
notes here.
no, I mean, definitely increased the deficit and caused a recession because I was born in 1987, and
Okay,
4 months after that, in October, a recession hit.
so no, hold on. In 1986, Ronald
Black
Reagan
Monday.
pushed through major tax increases on corporations and capital gains. He cut Americans a personal tax cut and then eliminated a key business loophole called the investment tax credit, or the ITC, and agreed to raise the capital gains to 28%. So again, he wasn't as well, it's not being pro business, it's just a different school of thought, I guess, back then.
Back before computers were really
That people want to
internet.
co-op and think that they're still, into Reaganomics when they're not. They're just using the name because he's the Jesus Christ savior of the GOP. But nothing about this tax plan or proposal looks like anything that
Well,
Reagan would have put forward.
no, Reagan.
And it's very pro business. It's very business heavy.
I don't even
mean-
think it's pro business because, I mean, a majority of the people in this country work for small to medium sized businesses. I mean, billionaires and these Facebookers and the Amazons of the world, they really probably, I mean, I may have misread the quote, but approximately 4 to 7% of the population works for those people. The rest, they do everything they can to cut employees, to automate everything, to make things done on computer. Most people work for the mom and pops, the small chains and things that are local and regional, things that aren't spread across the country like the Walmarts of the world. The main points of the tax proposals, they want to reduce the brackets from 7 to 4, compress them.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I mean, it's kind of selfish of me, and I was saying this to my uncle the other day that I don't mind that my standard deduction might double from 56 to 12 to $11,000 to reduce my taxable income.
You know what you will mind though, when they get rid of the salt deduction.
Well, yeah,
State
okay,
and
so
local
that's what I was
tax.
going to say. I mean, we're talking they would increase the child tax credit from 1,000 to 1,600, which is good for you. You got 2 kids, you get an extra $1,200.
Amen.
Now, and because you 2 parents, you're married together, $300 per parent extra as a tax credit for being a parent. They doubled the standard deduction from 5650 to 11 200.
And I think the brackets
They
are only
remo-
12, 25, and 35%.
so they're trying to simplify the brackets, and
Which
so I
I'm
would be in a
for
lower
that.
bracket too.
Yeah.
But again, if you look back at it, it's selfish of me because I would benefit from it, but so many people wouldn't. There are plenty of people who, because these brackets are lowering, we're all paying lower taxes, but that means we're cutting education, we're cutting spending on healthcare, we're cutting endowments and things for colleges, for natural resource preservation, for cleaning up the environment, while at the same time building a $22 billion starter wall on the border of a country that we trade most with, and saying that somehow China is causing global warming, even though it's clearly just all people, not just the Chinese. So the SALT deduction, which is for state and local taxes, it's a write-off that blue states basically benefit from because there's a lot more people in them. More people, more population density means higher property values, supply and demand. It's simple. It's like you said before the show. It's very similar to the red staters trying to take from the blue staters because to the victor goes the spoils.
Like we're paying a tribute, which is what
Almost
that
like
article
we're
that I
paying a
read said.
tribute,
It was freaking great.
And we're talking about lowering the corporate tax rate from 38.1% or whatever down to 20%, or 35% down to 20%, which is a massive, massive cut to places that already don't pay taxes in the first place.
It is, and that's what I meant before. Because you're right. I don't think this helps out small businesses. When I meant business heavy, I think it helps out all these big corporations. The Fortune 500s. It's what they've been dreaming of for decades, and they're getting it now. Like their lobbyists have won.
They're doing
this
it.
Doesn't help the middle class.
Well, that's why Paul Ryan says an army of lobbyists is coming. But they're doing it because they're afraid that these giant corporations are going to move themselves overseas, and we can't repatriate the money because mom and pop stores aren't going to move overseas. The bodegas down the street are not going to just suddenly relocate
No,
to India
they'll
or
just
something
close
like that.
shop
They'll
because
either
Whole Foods is going to close them out.
Exactly, because Whole Foods can move its headquarters
All right.
of one person to a mailbox in the Cayman Islands, and somehow now they don't have to pay all the taxes that everybody else has to pay. I mean,
But
these
can't you
corporations are
just-
going to get tax write-offs that
let me
families
ask you
can't.
guys-
But then can't you just close those loopholes?
Let-
No,
let me
they
ask you
won't
guys-
close them because the army of lobbyists will
Of
prevent
course,
that.
that's what I'm saying. It's easily preventable.
Let me ask you guys a question, and it goes to that point. And this goes to the principle of cutting taxes in hopes of growth. What have these corporations shown they've done with all the record profits they've made?
They put them in the Cayman Islands.
They build giant houses.
yeah.
Right. So my point is,
They don't
giving them
trickle
the
down.
tax
They put
break,
everybody on part-time status so they don't have to pay
Is
the overtime
there-
or health care.
Is there anything that will incentivize them repatriating the money?
Yeah.
Which is
instead
what?
of coming down hard on middle class Americans and threatening them with jail time, or we're taking them to tax court and stuff like that because they didn't pay $2,000 in taxes. GE's walking away with $1 billion in profit and saying, "Oh, we need more money," or Exxon needs a subsidy. You tell them you move outside the country and you are not transparent about your move. Like when these people are moving to Ireland, like when Google wants to move their headquarters to Ireland and they put one person over there and they say their headquarters is over there. So now they avoid all the corporate taxes of having their headquarters here, even though all of their business, their employees, their servers, everything is located in the United States. Because they say their headquarters is over there. Like, just get rid of that. Just cut the crap.
Yeah.
You know that's not what they are. They're trying to get around
Exactly.
it. And that's how the law is written. That's why Donald Trump thinks he's so smart for having avoided paying so many in taxes.
Yeah.
But that's my question. What
You write a
about
law
this
that stops
tax
it.
plan?
If you can write a law
No,
that
no,
forces
but-
people to have health care,
But
then you
does
can write a law that forces
does
people
this
to not leave
law
the country.
say that? That's what I'm asking. Like,
No, it
doesn't.
what
Not
about
at
this
all.
It does not
law
do that.
that's giving them a tax break says that this will require
They
you to
think that if they
repatriate your
lower
money?
the rate, that they
But-
somehow will be more likely to pay it rather than try to skirt it.
that's their selling.
Why?
That's their selling point to us. That's not what they want. This bill is the wet dream of corporations. They're getting exactly what they want. They can still go and incorporate wherever they want to incorporate, and then they can still steal money and not have it trickle down. And it's a win-win for them.
You mean it's the wet dream of Grover Norquist?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm not saying it's Elon Musk's wet dream. Not every billionaire wants this, but most corporations, most Wall Street banks are for this tax plan.
Just
and
to give you an idea of what you're saying and how important it is to recognize that this is not doing anything but benefiting corporate America. Not that there's terribly anything wrong with it. We need that. It's what makes America great and
and it's
prosperous.
yeah.
But they're eliminating adoption tax credits. You eliminate the adoption tax credit while giving credits to parents and married couples. You're eliminating a credit that primarily benefits people in the LGBT community who are primarily Democrats. I mean, there are plenty of Republicans that are gay, bisexual, trans, whatever. But you're eliminating a credit that specifically applies to them because they have to adopt if they want children. And if you can't, pass a law that bans them from adopting children because the courts say you can't, then just take away their tax credit, punish them for it, and say, well, now it's just going to cost you more to raise a child.
Yeah.
Because that's not because they don't care about the welfare of the child. They care about the welfare of the family unit, the nuclear unit. They eliminating a meager. I mean, we're talking about a $250 tax credit that teachers get for paying out of pocket for supplies for their classrooms.
Which again, I know firsthand because my wife does it.
Yeah,
there's
so
a lot of money that goes into
$250.
it.
That's all you can do. It's a maximum $250. If you bought school supplies, you can write that off on your taxes. Now they want to get rid of that to pay for what?
And
Who's that helping?
And they want to limit
all?
mortgage interest deductions, and they want to cap state and local tax
Also,
deductions.
what are they doing about student loan deductions? Is that affected in this?
Yeah.
Not only that, but they
Yeah.
also want to. They want to start. They want to put a 1% tax on college endowments. They want to basically tax universities who've saved money to pay for scholarships or to pay for their renovations and stuff like that. And yet, churches don't have to pay taxes for anything. You've got Joel Osteen running around with $40 million. Pat Robertson made worth $100 million. No 1% tax for them. Not even a half
and this
percent
tax plan, on top of helping corporations, also helps out those churches that don't have to pay taxes. I mean, it
not only that, but it also opens the door to allowing them to engage in political conversation without being penalized.
That's where I was going with that. So again, this tax plan is helping their base. It's helping their party.
Don't forget that good old death tax.
Yeah, that still blows my mind. I mean, the right is really good at the propaganda machine because how do you convince someone like in our tax bracket that the death benefit, that the death tax affects them. It doesn't affect you unless you have
It's
$11
not called a
million
death tax.
dollars.
Remember, it's an estate
Is an
tax.
estate tax. So again, you're helping out. You're just helping out the transfer of money from wealthy families to wealthy families and not taxing, because that's all it really is. It doesn't affect us, in our 12, 25, 36% bracket. It only affects the people that have $11 million in net worth, and then they don't have to pay taxes now when they die and all that.
I saw Paul Ryan bring up a woman who to sort of sell the whole.
Yeah, who was she with the red
death
dress,
tax.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the red dress. It's the red
Matrix.
dress from the
She was
Matrix.
from
yes.
the
Yeah, she seems so giddy. I don't know.
But here's the thing: she just was up there almost crying about how hard it was. I know our estate's worth $11 million, but we were poor and we were broke, and then they were asking us for money too.
That does not make any sense.
It's the inherent hypocrisy of the GOP. God forbid you want to give welfare out to poor people or help, low income schools or towns or whatever. But we're 100% on board with corporate welfare. Exxon, a $1 billion company, I don't even know what they're worth. Oh, but we got to give them subsidies here. We got to give them subsidies there. Tax breaks here, tax breaks there.
Even though America is now the #1 producer of oil in the world, we have so much of it, and yet they still need these tax credits. I mean, Exxon Rex. I'm calling them Exxon Rex. I mean,
so we're going to coin that here. The Bannonites and the Exxon Rex.
Exxon Rex.
All right.
No longer can deny things like climate change because the study that started under Barack Obama.
They will deny it.
They are denied. They scrubbed the websites. They got rid of all of these, but still the report comes out that says definitively humans are the cause. And yet, with the fact that the government said it, with the fact that it was released under Donald Trump, people will still not care. They won't look at it. They're going to be like, well, I'm not dying now, and yet it's November and 75 degrees out here, and there's like, well, it's just nice. It's seasonal. It happens all the time. It does not happen all the time. The Day After Tomorrow made a great prediction. When you're talking about ocean currents, I mean, you're adding fresh water to a massive body that is a machine and desalinating the ocean, just stopping the currents of hot and cold water moving from north to south. And that is going to affect everybody. We're talking about billions of dollars in New Jersey alone in real estate that's just going to be gone. And people right now are distracted by this tax plan. They're distracted by a plan that, for all intents and purposes, would never ever be passed if not for all three branches of government be under one control.
But this brings me then to the next point. Do either of you think this has a chance at passing? I mean, people have come out against it already within the GOP. As you noted last week, Joe, and I read about it this week again, most of the congressmen in the delegation for New York and New Jersey said that they couldn't support
Except
this.
for one,
Frelinghuysen,
he's a puppet.
I mean, he's ancient now. I mean, he's probably on his way out soon, hopefully. Sorry.
It will pass in the House because,
Well, like the Constitution says, all bills for raising revenue must originate in the House.
But
so
will it pass in the Senate? And I mean, the Senate has their own version of it. I know Marco Rubio's already against it. I believe
and Corker's against it as well.
And
McCain, I think McCain is against it.
No, I'm sorry. The one from the senator from Maine.
Collins? No,
not
Collins is the last.
McCaskill or something.
Murkowski.
I'm sorry.
Lisa
She's
Murkowski.
against. Yeah, Lisa Murkowski. She's against it as well. So I mean, they need what? All 50.
They need 50 plus the vice president,
right? They already have maybe 4 or 5 that are balking at it. They can't pass
honestly,
it.
That's why I said in the last show, Corker, Flake, and McCain should just band together and be like, listen, you're not doing anything unless you're actually doing it for the benefit of the people.
And Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski.
Yeah, but of course they're women, so why would anybody pay attention to what they say when they're probably some of the most influential and powerful people in the party right now, because they're legitimately standing up, like you said. They're running for re-election, and they're still standing up.
And this kind of comes back to the point Steve was making before, though. So we know that no matter what happens, if this becomes another L on the loss column for Trump, he's not going to lose his base. But nationally, he's at 30%. He's unpopular. He's looking weak. Let's see how his Asia trip pans out in a week. Let's see if he makes any big, gaffes while he's over there.
Or if he bombs somebody.
Or if he threatens to bomb North Korea while he's in South Korea. He's not. Whatever. We'll get into that later.
But get arrested for illegal immigration.
But if this becomes a loss for him, I mean, that's already no healthcare reform, no wall as of yet. His travel ban's been knocked in court a few times. And if this doesn't come to fruition at the start of 2018 with the midterms coming, how badly will it hurt the GOP?
Well,
or do you think he's immune?
No,
I know Steve.
No one's immune to anything.
I think Trump is immune.
No,
but is a party immune? Trump might be immune as a party.
This is a beautiful story about how it's all going to fall apart with the Mueller investigation. I think we could possibly see Trump not only finish his presidency, but also win another election.
Oh,
dare you.
because
God.
Silence
because
yourself.
we are
Keep
the
your
de-
tongue
not,
behind
I
your
don't want to
teeth.
say we, but the Democrats are still fighting that last war.
Well,
that last
we will-
Civil
They're
War
they're
to
fighting
get
themselves.
there.
Listen,
Right
we
now.
will,
But
not
that's
so much
okay.
in New Jersey, but we will know with the fact that Virginia has their governor's election coming up too, just like we do
Yeah.
in New Jersey, and Virginia known to be a nice solid red state for the most part,
Purple.
but it's
Purple.
purple,
It's
and
been
it has a
purple.
really strong chance of having a Democratic governor being elected. Now, I mean, that kind of parries in from the tax idea because we're talking about the Republicans basically putting their entire party on the line for this. It's only a partisan issue. It's 100% the Republicans versus the Democrats on this one. There's no room for independents. There's no room for moderates in this. Nobody's going to listen if you're not saying I'm this or that. So when we have issues like a governor's race in a state like New Jersey that elected a Republican twice in a row, despite that there are 800,000 more registered Democrats.
2-1. It's 2-1 in New Jersey
Yeah.
registered.
But still, Chris Christie got elected, and I'll admit, I did vote for him the first time.
Oh.
I voted for him the first time because I was
Oh.
tired of New Jersey being looked at like the armpit of the nation, being made fun of all the time, that we don't know what we're doing, we can't
We're
handle
not
things.
Mississippi.
Well,
Right, so-
I'm not going to shame any state because every state in the union is important to some degree or another.
Wow,
But New
DC,
Jersey
huh?
needed to be fixed. And Chris Christie, I thought, and like many other people and newspapers and whatnot that endorsed him, thought he was a tough guy, that he was really going to look out for us, but he was looking out for himself. All in all, he was looking out for himself. He was a megalomaniac and a narcissist, just like Donald Trump, except he didn't have the hair and the hot wife aspect and the money to go with it. He was a prosecutor. So Chris Christie gets elected to a second term, and everything starts falling apart because he's not compromising it. Because the governor in New Jersey has so much power, the line item veto power, the fact that every municipality is home ruled, so nobody wants to listen to Trenton any more than the states want to listen to Washington, D.C. So it's much more important to know who wins in the Virginia governor's election than New Jersey. I firmly believe that Phil Murphy is going to win in New Jersey.
I think he's up 20 points. As of
He's
the
up
last
20
poll.
points, but at this point, I'm done with
Wait,
Who's he running against?
Kim Guadagno.
Kim Guadagno.
Kim Guadagno.
Guadagno. I have trouble saying it. I don't know why. It's such a
sounds like-
simple.
It sounds like
But
something
all right.
bad.
And again, before we wrap up tax reform,
It's not technically wrapped up. It's always
It's
gonna
always
be
going
part
on.
of it. It can connect to everything.
no, because I
we're
do
talking
want to
about.
get into the New Jersey gubernatorial race. It's very important. We've made a mention of this before. Even before we did episode 1, Joe had mentioned that he felt this was an important week to bring this up because we're from New Jersey. We live there, or our families are from there.
The election's on Tuesday.
And most of our first-time viewers, hopefully, are from the state of New Jersey. But what would either of you say to a middle-class family that either voted or didn't vote for Trump about this tax reform? Like, how would you tell them this doesn't help you? Please stop feeding or believing the talking points that you're getting from the GOP and Paul Ryan right now. Like, how would you just tell them this isn't good for you?
It's difficult because of the little teasers that they
Nuances.
put in there. The little teasers like the double standard deduction and the child tax credit being increased and stuff like that.
Which are good ideas.
Because, like I want to mention when it comes to New Jersey, when it comes to taxes, which is what everybody in New Jersey talks about. If you're running for governor, if you don't mention taxes, no one's paying attention to you because that's all they'll
property
say,
taxes,
property tax.
yeah, most
But
important.
not everybody in New Jersey owns property.
Nope.
There are 8.5 million people plus in New Jersey, and not all of us own a house. Not all of us have a second mortgage on a second home or have $500,000 in mortgages or whatnot to write off. I mean, the SALT write-off for the tax credit is worth some $26,000 to people in New York, Connecticut, New Jersey areas, give or take a couple thousand. So you've got, someone like Phil Murphy who believes in, the democratic principles of, make sure the wealthiest pay their fair share, despite that he's a billionaire or millionaire himself. And then you got Kim Guadagno, who says 5% tax cap on your school tax bill portion of your property taxes, and then if it goes above that, the state pays for the rest of it. So she's doing exactly what the Republicans are trying to do with the main tax plan. She's hiding it in saying, "Oh, we're going to cap it at 5%. You'll never pay more than 5% for the school tax bill. Anything that goes over, the state will pick it up."
A
But
state
where's
that
the
we're-
state going to get the money from?
We've been in debt for how long? I mean, it was a crisis.
Our credit rating has been downgraded several times. We're talking about she never explains, and if she has, it's buried in some soundbite somewhere about how you expect to pay for the overage of the over 5%.
Yeah.
Because that comes from somewhere. Do you raise the state sales tax back up? Do you tax things differently? New Jersey is such a small state physically that it's easy for people to move across the border to New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, places where they have tons of open space, They can do whatever they want with their taxes. They can give you 10-year tax abatements because New Jersey is, pretty much the most densely populated state in the union. You can't offer that to anybody here, and it takes 15 minutes to get to New York, or just a train.
My
ride to
hometown is the
Pennsylvania.
most populated, densely populated town in the country.
Yeah. So
West New York, New Jersey.
you've got our senators, you've got Cory Booker and Bob Menendez, who obviously are against the tax proposal. They know that this is it's basically a tax increase on blue states. It's a tax increase on the Northeast and the West Coast. And they are against it, not just because they're Democrats, but because the constituents, the people they represent, are legitimately going to be harmed by this. Not just property owners. I mean, this tax reform package cuts money from things that Republicans say are entitlements, but I think are just what government's here for. It says right in the Constitution, provide for the general welfare of the Union. The general welfare of the Union is education, so that we don't have a bunch of idiots basically running around blabbering at the mouth about things that aren't true or that don't make sense. And so that we don't have a bunch of sick people.
Like everyone in 2017.
Yeah, so we don't have a bunch of sick people panhandling outside your house because they can't afford health care. If you just make sure people don't get sick, give them preventative health care, cover pre-existing conditions, then you don't see the blight. You don't have this damage to communities when families are mortgaging their homes to pay for college or to pay for health care.
And this tax plan does zero of that.
And this tax plan eliminates billions from Medicare. They want to get rid of Social Security. They want to get rid of the CHIP program, which has been on hold since October 1st. I mean, we're talking about health insurance for children, people who don't work, who basically don't pay taxes. I mean, when I was 14, I made $5.25 an hour, and you
mean the takers?
Yeah, the takers. Yeah.
These
So
kids.
we're talking about children. We're talking about children, and they can't decide whether or not they deserve health care. I mean, I get it if you want to tell grandma and grandpa and mom and dad, go find a way to pay for your own health care. But how do you say that to a child? How do you offer a $1,600 tax credit, encouraging people to have children, but then say we're not going to provide for any means of taking care of these kids, whether it's their education or their health care? That's how you get to these middle class families. That's how you tell them it's wrong, because you tell them it's hurting your children. And it's hurting your future and your possibilities of ever owning a home or a business.
And another point that we haven't brought up, except briefly by Steve before, which I think should resonate with the middle class, but maybe it won't. But a lot of the GOP platform for a while when it comes to taxes has been not increasing the deficit, right? Like there's deficit hawks. This increases the deficit by $1.5 trillion.
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years. So, I mean...
I don't know, though. I don't know that the average middle class or perfect...
If anybody cared about the deficit, it wouldn't be $20 trillion right now.
Right. I don't know that you're going to get to normal people
by saying
about the deficit. They're going to want to know how this thing affects them.
That's why it's your children, it's your puppies, and it's your grandma.
And there's some pretty sounding things in the bill.
We need to expose what the estate tax, who the estate tax affects. I understand it's good to say that it's about farmers and just normal people just like me and you. It's not. And again, even if you want to address the estate tax, right? A way to address it instead of phasing it out is saying, hey, maybe we'll bump it up to a higher worth. Maybe we'll say it's 25 million. I don't know. But that's a compromise, not phase the whole thing out after 10 years. Or, we're going to cut the corporate tax rate by 10% or 15% what they want, and they haven't exposed or announced any meaningful cuts to loopholes, right? So I haven't heard anything about loopholes they're getting rid of on the corporate side.
Which is the answer to your question.
When we're talking
everybody's
about...
watching way too much Game of Thrones, and they're just saying things like that, like the army of lobbyists is coming. Paul Ryan's afraid that if they don't ram this bill through the House and into the Senate, that they will be taken over by special interests all the way from grassroots liberal organizations to the NRAs and the hardcore conservative organizations. They're afraid that as soon as they release this bill on Monday or whatever it was, that all of a sudden, that because now the truth is out, because now you can actually see it, that now everybody's going to know what's wrong with it, and they're going to come and attack you for it. That's why they're like, push it, ram it through, ram nominations through, get judges appointed, get anybody that we can that's going to help us with this, because the second people find out what this bill actually is, it's going to be, someone will find a way to tell middle class families it's going to hurt your kids, your puppies, and your grandma.
See, let me
kids,
ask you guys
puppies, grandma.
Yes, but let me ask you guys a question now. Like, what does it say when you're talking about any bill, not just this tax bill, but any bill that we don't want people to see it because it's terrible. Right?
Yeah.
Like what does that say about the bill that you are trying to pass?
I think what it says flat out is that it's not a bill that was considered to be written for your constituents, but for
Written
and
by
by the
think
lobbyists.
tanks.
Yeah, by the think tanks. And I think you alluded to this last week or a few weeks ago, is that these senators nowadays in Congress, they don't write their own bills the way they used to write them anymore. They're pre-giving these, 1,000-page bills by lobbyists, corporations, special interest groups, and then they're just pushed to pass it,
Kind of like an end user license agreement
because
when you buy something online.
yeah.
You just click and say,
Be-
yeah, I read
because-
and acknowledge. I read it.
Because what if you ran for Congress, Steve, right? And what if I gave you maybe $100,000 to your campaign, and then all of a sudden I come
You're
to your
limited to
office and I tell you, I really like this piece of legislation. I think you should pass it. And you know that I'm kind of telling you, if you don't, I'm not going to give you that 100,000 next time
And
you
I
come
say,
around.
get out of my office.
All right, and then you lose your election in 2 years when you have to run
Because
against
they
the Congress.
primary you.
Yeah. So again, and I think you're so right to a lot of what you're saying. I just don't know the answer to what you're saying or asking. Is that I don't believe Congress right now, especially the GOP, cares about their constituents because the lack of voter. Well, the voter apathy in our country is off the chain. Like, no one votes, so why would you care about your voter? And B, they're not the ones funding Congress. So there's a lot of big issues that we would have to focus on, like campaign finance reform, term limits, in order to really change the culture in
I think we need
DC
to
right now.
talk about our effective tax rate when we talk about we're the highest tax rate, highest taxed nation, or
we're not.
highly developed nation
At all.
You have to talk about the effective tax rate of how much people are
Which is why
actually paying
GE
with
paid
these
$0.
loopholes.
$0 billion company. They paid zero because of write-offs, because of loopholes.
Exxon too, right? I think Exxon.
And on top of that, they get subsidies. We're talking about the most valuable company in the world next
So
to
you
like
pay
Amazon
zero
and
taxes
Google.
and then you get money to go and do more
Exactly,
things,
but you
so.
can't. Don't give that to people struggling to pay their bills or their mortgage. And that's kind of why I backed Phil Murphy for governor in New Jersey.
I
Because,
like how you brought that back around.
I know, right?
but it's true
All right,
because
let's do it.
he's like that.
New
He's
Jersey governor's
transparent.
race.
Despite the fact that he might be talking a little bit broadly about everything, he's still being transparent about it. He's still saying, this is what I want to do. I want to fund the school formula. I want to tax marijuana and legalize
Okay,
it. I want to do these things. I want to form a bank in New Jersey to make sure money stays
Which
in
I
New Jersey.
think is a great idea.
It's great. And Kim Guadagno is just doing nothing but saying property taxes are too
Okay,
high.
so
We need to lower property
let's
taxes.
give some background information.
Is she the
before we-
rent is too damn high, Canada?
She might be, but she's a former sheriff. She's a woman who in politics, it's hard being a woman in politics.
lawyer.
I get that. She's a lawyer. She's
been
a
serving
tough
for a
cookie.
while. But let's
She's a
give a
tough
little bit of
cookie.
a background before we really get into the nitty gritty. So for anyone who might not know, New Jersey has their gubernatorial race on November 7th, this upcoming Tuesday. It's only one of two states in the country that is having a gubernatorial
And
race
the
this year.
entire legislature is up, 120 seats, all 40 senators.
I did not know the entire
all
legislature
80,
was up.
All 80 representatives,
Yeah.
everybody. They're
So
all
it's
up.
very important to go get out the vote. Like Joe just mentioned before, New Jersey has been under a Republican governor for the last 8 years, Chris Christie, who is Trump's favorite errand boy, and yeah. But
didn't he mention one time about how much he thought Chris Christie loved Oreos?
I don't know, man. Yeah, he definitely did, he did a couple of fat jokes when Chris Christie was on
Just
stage.
that,
But anyway, so the point is, there's a gubernatorial election.
That's a
Just
shame.
about Chris Christie fat jokes.
No, fat.
One
body
thing I
shaming
don't
is
think that
naked.
we focus on enough: Trump is fat.
He is.
He is.
He is a fat bastard.
You really are a fat bastard.
He weighs a metric ton
Not
and
officially.
should go by the name.
Yeah,
Fat.
He does kind of look like that. He got the golden
Just
hair
call him
for it.
Fat Donnie or something. I don't
mean,
know. He likes to
honestly,
give everyone else
look,
nicknames. Let's just
if
give
you're
him one.
in a sport that requires you to drive around to every place you go, you're not exercising. I'm sorry, it's not.
And by the way, funny enough, completely out of topic, but the first thing that he's doing when he gets to Japan is playing golf.
That's pretty much the first thing he did when he got to New Jersey.
With Shinzo Abe. So, but anyway, November 7th election, and the Democratic nominee is Phil Murphy, who
Sheila
is
Oliver, Lieutenant Governor.
and then for the Republican side is
Kim Guadagno and Carlos Men.
We should probably look that up.
It's someone with an M.
Yeah.
Honestly, I when I first saw it, I was like, okay, so they picked rich white guy and paired him up with a fairly attractive young African American woman, and they take
Rich
stuffy white woman, and
who's also
pair her
rich,
up
by the
with
way. She's rich.
yeah, of course, and pair her up with a stereotypically Hispanic sounding gentleman, which maybe he's not Hispanic, I don't know. But the point is, it looks like they're just playing these politics of New Jersey because it's a melting pot of the country.
And funny enough,
New Jersey has everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody lives in New Jersey.
Pod Save America had him on, I think, a few episodes ago, and they interviewed Phil Murphy. It was a pretty good interview if anyone wants to catch it on Pod Save America. Damn, I just gave free publicity right now for you guys. But basically, he said that right now the dynamics in New Jersey, funny enough, compared to some of the states in the South, where things are being brought up like sanctuary cities, the wall, immigration, because New Jersey is a very big melting pot. And, the Kim Guadagno is taking a page from Trump and the GOP's playbook in which
desperation play.
Yeah, they're pushing fear. They're saying, MS-13 gangs, and if we let immigrants come in here, they're gonna steal your jobs and hurt your children. And there's like you said before, she doesn't have anything to really say. She's not helping families in New Jersey. So what do? You scare them into voting for you. And the New York attack that just happened, on Halloween might play into that. I mean, he has a 20% point lead, like we just mentioned before in the moment in the polls. But do you think this might?
Well, she went off on the whole fear mongering thing after the attack happened in Tribeca. The person was from Paterson, New Jersey, had a family here, had moved around from Florida and New Jersey and all this.
He's been here since 2010, right?
Yeah,
in the States.
And he came on a program that was passed in 1990 by George H.W. Bush. So this was not a Chuck Schumer. Bill Clinton thing. This is a visa program that he entered in on. And he came from Uzbekistan, which has never been on the terror list. Donald Trump's travel ban would not have prevented him.
It's an ex-Soviet Union country, so I mean, it has ties to Russia. So
exactly, and so we're talking
also
about a person who
we
just got
also
radicalized.
used Uzbekistan assisted us when we were attacking Afghanistan. Like they helped us.
Yeah,
out.
they allowed us to have our planes transferred because Iran was not going to let that happen. No. But the point was that she seized on this opportunity to make people afraid of this Muslim. This guy who yelled his support for ISIS during his attack, thankfully, probably because he's from New Jersey, couldn't get his hands on real guns, and I think that's a point to note.
Yeah, would he have a pellet gun
he
or
had BB guns and a paintball gun? But I mean, that's something that you should note too. In a state, one of the strongest regulations on gun laws, he wasn't able to access that, so he had to use a truck. I mean, we're talking about Stephen Paddock, who hurt and killed more than 500 people in Las Vegas. He didn't use a truck, and everybody's like, "Oh, what are you going to start regulating trucks?" And I was like, "Yes, we do regulate trucks, we do," and then we were able to stop him.
Let's not get too much into this because we want to bring it up later.
But Kim Guadagno used that to fearmonger people that live in New Jersey because our neighbors are brown, they are black, they are Asian, they are from Hispanic world, they are from the Middle East. Because everybody knows someone like that, because everybody has a neighbor that looks like that, she is trying to play into this fear to get people to vote for her, because somehow if Kim Guadagno is governor, no terrorist attacks will ever happen in New Jersey again, no terrorist will ever come from New Jersey, that sanctuary cities will be banned. Not that that has any real play on anything. I mean, there are sanctuary cities and states across the whole union that believe wholly that the state does not have a obligation to be beholden to a federal agent for stuff like that.
Yeah, and again, to the points we've been making, did you guys hear about what happened in Edison, New Jersey? That racist flyer that came out
against the Indian and Asian people running for council.
Yeah, so it said "Make Edison Great Again." Obviously, a play off of "Make America Great Again."
Nobody knows who sent it out, though.
No one knows, which is illegal under campaign finance laws, right? It should,
election law.
And to be fair, both the Republican and the Democratic mayoral candidates both came out against it, called them cowards, whatever. But the point is that yes, in New Jersey there is a play right now, there is a pushing back, and she's taking a page from the GOP handbook when it comes to that. And some more background on them, and it's being used to attack him. Murphy was an ex-Wall Street banker for Goldman Sachs. Mm-hmm. Which she's been using, to call him part of the elite and this, but he's kind of distanced himself away from it. And again, we shouldn't attack everyone just because they work for Goldman Sachs or Fortune 500. This is a guy who was on the board of directors for, I think, the NAACP for a while. He's done a lot of good work. He was the first ambassador to Germany, right, under President Obama. Mm-hmm. So, this is a guy that I think would be good for New Jersey, infinitely better than Guadagno, which I feel would be a third Christie term. And I think New Jersey right now is in need of change, and it's also in need of a governor that actually supports our law enforcement, our fire departments, and most of all teachers, because Chris Christie has fought I mean, so hard against the teachers' unions and his whole time him being in New Jersey. I mean, being a teacher in New Jersey is hard. They don't get paid enough, and you know, like you said before, they're the real heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the state police has actually gone out and supported Murphy too, because
Well, most of that is probably because Chris Christie and Kim Guadagno are adamant about the salary caps for police,
yes, and
which
for
I
the
agree with
pensions
too.
too.
I agree with the salary caps. I mean, there's no reason that a police chief should be making $250,000 a year while our teachers are making 50,000. You know, or that a superintendent should be making $200,000 a year just because they've been there for 30 years and they get these. They work around all these contract rules where they get paid for their vacation time and paid for the sick time they didn't use. All this stuff when they're not doing anything more than the person right below them or two people below them. When a patrolman is actually more in danger and more in threat of getting accosted or being spit on or attacked than a chief of police who's really just a bureaucrat at that point.
Okay.
So I think that's probably why they don't really support the Republican candidate at the moment. But Phil Murphy, he doesn't have that experience with knowing how to run a state, and that's the only downside I can say about him is he doesn't have executive experience to do that. But then again, Barack Obama got elected to the presidency with only having worked in the legislature.
And sometimes real life work does translate into political life. And
Which
I mean,
is why
he was
Nikki Haley did a good
Trump
job as UN
is
ambassador.
president.
Yeah, I
so
know.
anyone can do the
But
job.
not in New Jersey.
Yeah, no.
No, you lost handedly here.
And
I mean, you have our senators, Cory Booker, Menendez, obviously going around campaigning for him too. They're doing an event in Fair Lawn.
I think it's safe to say he'll win.
It's a safe thing
But
to
it's-
say, but the things that are coming out of her mouth in order to at least help her save face so that after this she gets a job somewhere else,
Yeah.
they are divisive in a state that's already going through a lot right now. I mean,
Yes.
we're talking about this terrorist being from Paterson, New Jersey, that, when 9/11 happened, most of them had New Jersey driver's licenses. I mean, we've been on the map a couple times and not for anything good. I mean, the Jersey Shore.
And again, and I had made a note of this on Facebook, and I don't mean to sound conspiratorial, but this whole New York attack, and that we'll get into more detail later, it came out in a week. It came out a day after the indictments were issued, and then it took all over the right news.
Same thing happened with Steve Paddington in Vegas.
Because I mean,
it's a distraction.
If you guys notice, I paid particular attention to Fox, Breitbart, all these publications the day that the indictments were. They ignored it for the most part, made light comments on it. It's almost as if they didn't know how to talk about it, and then a day later this happens, and then all that they can talk about is that. And again, I'm not downplaying it. I'm not saying it was a conspiracy or it isn't. I don't know.
Well, Robert
The
Mercer
timing just seems
selling
funny.
a stake in Breitbart.
Really? Oh yeah. Like he said it was a mistake for him to back. Yeah. And then also to the New Jersey race, this has become a trigger for Guadagno in the week leading up to the election. I don't think it'll make her win the election, but again, it just seems timely when this happened. And again, it's just food for thought. I'm not saying it was a conspiracy or it's not, but just keep an open mind.
Listen, that's the whole point of having a show is that you can say things like that, and as long as you clarify.
No, because someone's definitely going to go tell me to fuck myself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
someone will tell you that. But, one of the other important things, too, is just like in any state, if there is a vacancy in a representative position, the governor gets to appoint someone to fill that spot. So if right now Senator Bob Menendez is on trial for alleged corruption with...
which isn't looking good for him, by the way.
Not looking good for him, but there's appeal processes and stuff. You can stretch this out. The thing that I think a lot of Republicans are trying to do is they want this to happen quickly because they want Chris Christie on his way out to appoint a Republican to be the senator from New Jersey in his place, which I think that's wholly irresponsible because it's not the will of the people and it's not what we want. So that even if he's found guilty, he'll probably press it out. What Republicans are going to try to do is they're going to try to attach every single Democrat, especially Cory Booker and even maybe Lindsey Graham for coming into his defense at the trial. They're going to try and peg them with it and say, well, you don't support open government because you're supporting someone who's found guilty of corruption. You need 2/3 of any branch to eliminate a member. Like, they can kick him out, but you'd need at least like 15 Democrats to do it. That's not going to happen.
Nope.
If that does happen, though, and they succeed in waiting till after Chris Christie is out of office and Phil Murphy hopefully is elected, then I'm not sure when the end of Menendez's term actually is, but then you'll at least get someone appointed in a fashion that is beneficial to the people. And honestly, I would suggest Mayor Steve Fulop of Jersey City. I know that you don't have the strongest feelings for him.
I don't.
But I followed him. I've seen some of the things he's done in Jersey City. I think Steve Fulop would be a good senator. And I think that this whole Phil Murphy thing and the stuff happening with Menendez and all this stuff that Cory Booker is doing, I think that Cory Booker may in the future make a run for governor himself. He's too young, despite that he's legally able to, but too young, I think, to jump on the bandwagon of everybody saying Cory Booker is going to run for president one day. He might, but I think he'll probably take the step of running for governor first. Like Steve Phillip cares a lot about Jersey City, so he wouldn't resign his post to do it. But I think that it would be in the state's best interest if he were to take Menendez's place if Menendez is found guilty or resigns or whatever happens to him.
Menendez is up for re-election now in 2018.
Oh, so that's
he was
so
he was last re-elected in 2012.
Okay, so that's the end of his term anyway.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important that
Yeah.
they don't appoint someone who for 6 months will start making decisions for New Jersey in the GOP's interest.
Yeah.
So it's important that that happens. I don't support any corrupt politician. I think if you do something wrong, you should be out. But then again, as Mr. Johnson over here has eloquently put, Donald Trump is president. So you can't really count on people for that.
Yeah, and then the important things, it seems for most New Jerseyans, every time a gubernatorial race comes around, is taxes, and pretty much it's taxes.
Yeah.
So I guess you just have to fall on who you really like, their tax position. And there's something about Murphy that I think we should talk about before we wrap up the gubernatorial thing, because I think it's very important. I like the idea. Yeah, the state bank. So I didn't find out about it until a couple of weeks ago, and it sounds interesting. Apparently, North Dakota has been doing it for about 100 years already. And he wants to start a bank that is managed and chartered in New Jersey. All of our taxes are paid by New Jersey residents, goes only into this bank. And then this bank in turn only gives out loans to New Jersey residents for, small business loans, student loans, and all at low interest. So I think that's something really cool, that might help the state, because there's a lot of money right now that from New Jersey tax money that's going to places like Japan and Sweden to build infrastructure, and it's sitting around in big corporate banks on Wall Street that's not helping us back. And again, we're one of the highest tax states in the country. So if we, like you said before, sometimes taxes need to be paid. I don't mind paying taxes if they come back in turn to help me and my family or other people that need it. And this seems to me a very good way to do that. It's money from New Jersey put into New Jersey Bank that's in turn going to be given back to New Jersey residents to help small business,
Well, the devil's advocate on that, and what people are saying that are against him, is that it's going to hurt community banks, because there's already a Bergen County Community Bank, an Essex Community Bank, all these community banks.
That's their personal banking.
Yeah, exactly. Their basic charter is to help people in that community.
Okay.
But it doesn't stop them from helping people outside the state. So I do support the idea of a state bank for New Jersey. I do support the idea of making sure that money that's in New Jersey actually stays here, just the same way 20 minutes ago when we were talking about repatriation of money that goes outside the United States. I think that there should be written into the tax code laws and provisions that prevent people from this moving of headquarters, and I forget what the word is, reverse something, where they, where you just get around tax laws by sending one guy in a mailbox to Ireland or to some Caribbean island.
Yeah.
You say if you're going to do that, you're still going to pay taxes on all the money you generate inside this country. Any money generated inside the United States needs to be taxed during the U.S. tax code. It doesn't go to the Cayman Islands and then you pay the Cayman. No, that's not how things work. Or at least that's not how it should work.
Yeah.
So that's why I agree with Phil Murphy's idea of a New Jersey state bank, because New Jersey needs that. We're surrounded by two giant states that have a lot of economic power, that have a lot of ability to change things and to affect what we do. So if they lower their taxes right across the border in New York, of course you're going to go and you're going to move your business or a home over there, because you just drive 5 minutes and you're back in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And for the opposite way, you live in New York City, it gets too expensive, you end up in New Jersey.
Yeah, but if you live in New Jersey and work in New York, I don't you do pay double the taxes. I'm not sure if that's exactly what you're alluding to. But...
No, well, you pay your income tax to both states.
Yeah.
But your property tax is still.
No,
New
you're
Jersey.
right. You're right.
So, but if it gets too expensive to live in New York City, that's why people that live in New Jersey are always complaining about New Yorkers moving in and taking up all into the.
Hoboken,
that's their
Jersey
type
City.
of gentrification.
Yeah.
It's basically it's like white on white crime. I think
it's almost like a sixth borough of New York.
Yeah.
But and then the other big campaign promise for Murphy is clean energy. He claims or aims to have New Jersey 100% on clean renewable energy by 2050.
Well, he does want to shut down the Salem nuclear reactor. I don't think we have any coal plants in New Jersey. We got a lot of wind farms and they're building more. New Jersey pushed real hard for solar energy. And then that's even a political issue too, because you see places like in Florida, when nobody was looking, passing laws that basically make it illegal to put a solar panel on your roof.
Yeah.
Because they want their coal and their oil money.
Here in Jersey, you can get it for free.
Yeah.
If you have a roof that's only 10 years old or younger, they'll do it for free.
Exactly.
And then you get money back from PSE&G.
Because it's such a tiny state.
What will they do for?
In New Jersey, if you have a home and the roof of your home is 10 years or younger, there's a company, I'm not quite sure the name of it right now, but I looked it up. They'll install solar panels on your house for free, and on top of that, they'll insure your roof of damage.
So and you don't have to pay anything?
Nope. They just install it for you, and then they connect it right
And
to
if
the
you do,
PSE&G.
you can get it back as a tax credit.
Yeah, and you either get it back as a tax credit, or if you, because sometimes what happens is you collect more than you use, and then that in
Sell
turn
it
gets
back to
sent
them,
back. Yeah,
right.
you sell it back to the PSE&G, and you actually get a deduction or credit for PSE&G.
How anybody
So
can
they're
say
pretty
that
progressive in New
coal is
Jersey when it
better
comes to that.
than that, I don't
I
understand.
know personally for my house, we tried to get solar panels,
Your
but
house probably doesn't face north.
yes, and we have some taller
Trees.
buildings
Yeah,
around
my
us,
father-in-law dealt with that
In
issue.
any case, it's not. It doesn't matter about the solar panels or the wind farms in your backyard. It matters.
It
about the
matters
ones you
to
build,
me,
like in
Joe.
Oklahoma. It matters like the wind
Matter to
farms are
Steve,
building in
Joe.
Oklahoma, on the Great Plains of the United States, where they're building wind farms that are generating energy, and people still think no, we should be burning coal. Like, how does that make any sense to anybody? That if we have the opportunity when it's cheaper,
But again, it
it's
doesn't.
cheaper to do solar,
again,
natural gas, and wind.
It
And they
doesn't
still
make
think-
sense to anyone. It's the people. It makes sense to the people in power. They're
Well,
just
no,
maintaining
hang
the
on.
status
I
quo.
want to say something there. So here's the thing, and I get it, right? Like we live in New York, we live in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's a special note.
Job-
Steve Johnson is a New York resident.
Right.
We are New Jersey.
And there are a lot of job opportunities here, and it's very easy for us to think, well, this is new technology, so this is what we should do. It's better for the environment. I'm all for that. But what we have to understand is some of these politicians, their constituents live in some of those towns where it's a one company town.
You're
And
absolutely
so
right.
for them, it's literally like life and death.
Yeah.
If that
I mean, you
coal
have to take
mine
that
or
into
whatever
consideration.
goes out of business, how do they feed their families? And so they do have to answer to those people. And I'm
You
not
put it
saying
in the
we need
tax
to
code,
continue
credits
with
for people
coal.
to be retrained.
Well, sure, but
there are
we-
programs like
But again, does it really affect them in that way? Now, if we're gonna build like gigafactories in the places where the coal mines are gonna be put out of commission, then yes. But like these are real people's lives. So I'm not like saying that we need to continue with coal. We need to get off of fossil fuels. But I'm just saying when we say we don't understand, that's a point that we should.
Because we don't live there, we're not them. So find a
Right.
way to get off of coal without hurting these working class families that
Right.
depend on coal.
Well, they only
Right.
depend
Okay.
on it because they refused not 100% of them, but they generally refuse to learn something else. I mean, you've got these people that think that Donald Trump's going to bring back
Okay.
coal,
I don't know
so they're
if that's
refusing.
fair.
I don't know if that's fair.
They're
I mean,
refusing to learn new stuff because they're
Hey.
guaranteeing that they've been
Look,
guaranteed by Donald Trump that he's going to bring back their coal
way
jobs.
the way that things have been moving the last few years, especially with technology and everything. I'm 30 years old. I'm not old by any means. But you put me, with someone who's 20 and 19 who's been doing this far longer, maybe, it's hard to go back after a certain age and relearn something, especially when everything moves.
If,
at
if
every
your life
3 or
and your
5 years.
livelihood depends on it, then it's not hard.
Of course, maybe it shouldn't be hard, but that's not to say it's only up to that person. What if there's not a retraining center in those towns? What if there's not something like you said? Some of these towns were built or only expanded around, a factory or a
Go
coal
tell that
mine
to
or
someone
something,
in Pittsburgh
and then
whose
that's it.
steel mills closed down, and they
And
end
then
up building cars.
And what happened to
or
Pitt-
they end up building pharmaceuticals.
But it didn't happen overnight.
No, it didn't.
It did,
but-
Pittsburgh went through many years,
But
if
they
not
put
decades.
programs in place to help these people get there.
And I think that's what
Right
Steve is
now,
just
they're
trying to say.
not
Put
doing
those
that.
programs.
They're not doing it.
And I think that's what Steve's point was.
They're trying
not
to
just saying
build a
it's
wall.
over.
They want people to be construction workers and just build roads to nowhere. Like, I'm sure Sarah Palin wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
And they want people to build a wall, and then after that, what? You have nothing. That's not job security. But anyway, we gotta move on to,
Well,
to
And
foreign,
I'm not,
foreign
I
policy.
don't, I'm not disagreeing with that. What I'm saying is we need to understand like the people, and we can't blame the people because this has
that's
been
victim
their
blaming, and we're not
livelihood.
about that.
This is if I have worked my whole life and I'm 30, 40, 50 years old and I've worked my way up, you're going to tell me now
You gotta start at the bottom.
you have to go back and start at the bottom.
With
And
something
again,
you don't
learning
understand enough.
technology, that's like, if I told my mom right now, it's almost her retirement age, okay, you're going to have to go learn to be a software engineer, Mom. Like, that's not a realistic thing.
But that's also not
to
even
say.
a realistic statement to suggest that we're going to tell all these 60-year-olds they have to learn how to program chips. It's not that.
But
We're
then
talking
what kind of
about
jobs are they
it's
gonna
a
be getting
modern
then?
economy. You have someone like Rick Perry running the energy department saying
No,
that
fuck
fossil
Rick.
fuels keep the lights on and that prevents sexual assault. We're talking about the fact
Yeah, I can't
that
believe you
Mother
said that.
Earth is hashtagging Me Too right now.
Okay.
Mother Earth is hashtagging Me Too because we are assaulting her with all these bogus ideas that
Look,
the coal
but before
plants are going to come back and that they're going to save everybody's job.
on the
Even
drive,
China's closing
on
down
the
their
drive
coal plants.
here, you were just telling me how automation is scaring you and how, and we've talked about it, I think 2 episodes ago, and and Steve made the point of that. What happens when machines take over everything? Before it gets to that point, we're gonna have to run those machines right until everything becomes automated. So, what jobs do you think are gonna pop up in these towns that only do coal? You think they're not gonna be automation jobs or jobs in which these people are gonna
pretty
have
sure
to
there's
learn how
gonna
to
be plenty of
program
positions in the
to an
militia
extent?
opening up.
Yeah, right, the right-wing militias. But anyway, all right. So before we wrap up the gubernatorial race, the last major point in New Jersey is that Murphy is pro marijuana. Recreate. Damn.
Recreational.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Blah, blah. He wants to make marijuana recreational in New Jersey and decriminalize it. Kim Guadagno only wants to decriminalize it but not make it recreational.
Yeah, she wants to fine people instead of jailing them because it's all about making money, right?
So the polls in New Jersey show a strong indication that New Jersey residents want there to be the legalization of recreational marijuana. It looks like it might happen under a Murphy governorship. And real quick, do you think that helps or hurts New Jersey?
I mean, it's done great things for Colorado.
It has.
It's done great things for California. Massachusetts is pushing towards that. You know, the Vermont and New Hampshire area. I mean, it's just it's like a domino effect. It's progressively getting more and more towards the legalization and stuff. And then you go back to Jeff Sessions saying that it leads to opioid abuse when it's
it does not.
overprescription from doctors and people getting
You could
hurt.
take marijuana for pain instead of opioids and never have to take opioids.
And then you
get
don't have
addicted.
problems
No.
after that. So what? You eat a little bit more, you get tired, and you don't drive. Like that's not a problem. So yes, I mean, if you regulate marijuana the same way that you regulate alcohol, license it, make sure that it's being safe, oversee it, test it, make
have
sure
an age limit.
Age limit. I mean, New Jersey made tobacco 21 now, so why not, make marijuana 21?
Sure.
By all means. And think about that. There are some jobs for you.
Go
to Mississippi, go to Indiana, go find these coal miners and ask them, can you put a seed in the ground and water it? Can you turn a light on and off? You have a job and you're going to, and it's security because everybody not everybody, but when you have something like that legalized, just like after Prohibition, just like when, gay marriage was legalized, just like when interracial marriage was legalized, and that's the second you take something that has been told you're not allowed to have it for years and years and years, where people have lied and said this will lead to rapists, murder, the crime, and Mexican
the 1950s
gangs,
film or whatever.
Reefer Madness.
Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
I saw
Great
it.
musical, by the way, afterwards. But when you tell them that you can finally have this, maybe we were wrong, but it's also going to be good because the money, just like the lottery, goes to pay for senior services and education.
Yeah.
Maybe this money can actually help plug all these massive holes that we have because money is just falling out of New Jersey.
I think the biggest benefit of making it recreational is that it will bring money back into the state. My number might be off by 100 million or so.
We have to do it before Pennsylvania and New York because they're going to do the same thing they did with casinos.
And
open
then,
them up on the border.
And then everyone
steal
will go.
money from New Jersey.
Also, I think there's another, even bigger than the money that it will bring in. Think about all the people that have gone to jail
that was my
for
second
the
point.
use and sale of marijuana. And even if you want to bring money back into it, those are people that you don't have to pay for to be in jail. But the lives that it will ruin, the people that are arrested and lives are ruined, they can't go on and get jobs to feed their family, which will in turn lead them to alternative ways of making money, which just leads them in.
You're talking about criminal records prevent people from getting employed all the time.
Exactly, and voting. So again, that to me is the number one benefit of legalizing marijuana. And I don't smoke.
I do.
But hey, there you go.
How do you call it? Recreationally.
Yeah, recreational.
So besides bringing money in, because for example, you mentioned Colorado. I think my number might be off slightly. The first year after they legalized it, they had a surplus of $200 million.
They make more in tax
and
revenue
do you
from
know
that than alcohol
and do you know
sales.
where they put it back into? The educational system in Colorado.
Mhm.
New Jersey can do that.
I thought you were gonna say booze and
No,
cocaine.
no. Maybe we could lower also property taxes, right? If
Oh
if
my
you have
goodness.
another tax revenue coming in,
There are
the property
entire
taxes in
towns
New
in
Jersey.
California whose revenue is so great from the production and sale and taxation of marijuana that they eliminate their income taxes.
Yeah, I think some people, especially some old school minded people, older people, get fixed on the idea. Oh my God, everyone's going to be smoking. Most people already are. I mean, it's not that hard to get. My problem is that very young people can get it. And when you also make something legal, you take away the criminal aspect of it.
Isn't
because
that
then
what
you
they
can
say
go,
about guns? If the criminal wants a gun, they're still
They're
going to
gonna
get it anyway. So why
Okay,
regulate it?
But where's the benefit of someone, for example? Okay, so you can legally now go and buy yourself, a dub, right? Why would you still, because you're now paying maybe a 7% tax on it, now you're just still gonna go and buy it from the guy
The
down
Colorado
in the
tax rate
alley
is 25%,
and risk
it's
getting
still
locked up?
cheaper than the black market marijuana.
That's what I'm saying. Criminal activity will stop, or at least be deterred, because no one's gonna risk going to jail anymore if you can get a legal way of doing it. Again, it should be, there should be legislation that age limit. You can't drive under the influence. There should be some comprehensive, laws that go into it. It's not just willy nilly people going to the park and lighting up, which might be great, but it's not gonna happen. It shouldn't happen. But again, that's where our candidates stand. Get out and vote this Tuesday, November 7th. It's very important. Democratic Phil Murphy and Republican Kim Guadagno. And with that, we are going to move into
Do foreign policy.
and what is
Trump's-
going on with foreign policy.
well, I
Joe?
believe you. It's just a small misnomer in the beginning. Not 12 days, but 13 days, because it's lucky number 13 for.
And he
Trumpy
just
Trump.
added that day.
Yes,
though.
and what did he
added.
just add?
Okay, guys. So before we get into it, Trump was supposed to go on a 12-day trip to Asia. He was going to skip out on the East Asia conference, I think it is, but now he's going. And at this meeting, he's planning to meet with Vladimir Putin on the sidelines. So I think it's funny that he wasn't going to attend this meeting, which Vladimir Putin was attending. Russia is part of this. And then now with the indictments out on Monday, he all of a sudden adds an extra day to his trip and is going to meet with his Papa Bear, his boss,
Got to check in.
his puppeteer.
Putin's just
Vladimir
going to go up
Putin.
to him. Did you get your TPS reports in? Did you see that memo? And he's just going to be like, sorry, I got to go to the Philippines. Sorry.
Gonna be with
Yeah,
Duterte.
I mean, Duterte, he loves him.
Yeah.
He loves that guy so big.
But yeah, so
13 days. Japan, Philippines, South Korea, China, twice in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Because of the conferences he has to go to. And he's going to be meeting with all these people that he assumes caused global warming and probably voted illegally during the election. But this time he's going to go over there with a weak mandate to countries
Yes.
where people that are in charge are just wholly in charge of their countries. I mean, every one of these countries, with the exception of maybe Japan and South Korea, are under strong control of the people in charge. South Korea, I believe, recently got rid of and charged their ex-president with corruption.
Yep. And they just elected Moon Jae-in.
Yes, Moon Jae-in, and of course Japan with Shinzo Abe has been in a somewhat of a recession. Their population's declining.
But he just won a mandate.
But he has.
He
a
just had
mandate.
snap
I mean,
elections, which his
exactly.
party won favorably, and
So-
he got elected back to another
So
4-year term.
he's strongly in
Yeah.
control of Japan. But again, how important is the yen in Japan right now? Probably just as important as Great Britain is. But the point is that he's going to all these countries trying to bolster some kind of an American agenda, though despite the fact that he's all America first. I mean, when he gets to China, I imagine he's going to be touring some of the factories that make the Make America Great Again hats.
Which everything that he
I
makes
mean, all
is
his
made in
ties
China.
and products are Malaysia. And
All made
Indonesia.
in China.
Hey, he has to check on his investments. All
Yeah,
right.
so you have to check in on your investments that you're not supposed to be getting. Cause
Right before the new tax laws come out without us.
No, I was
seeing the
talking
tax
about
law.
Putin.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't know.
Well, no, Putin is checking on his
Yeah.
investment.
Oh,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah.
Misunderstood that. Yeah.
Not that I 100% believe that Vladimir Putin can just pull some strings, because Donald Trump is a narcissist. He doesn't like to think that anybody's in control of him. But point is, little shady. He's meeting with someone that he does not necessarily
Vladimir
need to be meeting
Putin's
with.
job, I believe, when he was in the KGB,
yeah.
was to, I think, find people that would be willing to flip and turn. So I mean, this is not a guy who's just gonna say do what I want. He's gonna coax. He's gonna flirt. He's gonna seduce Trump, and that's how he gets him to do what he wants. So I don't think he's strong manning him, because you're right. Trump would never go for that. But again,
you gotta be passive.
we're
to some
talking about
things.
things we don't know. So let's just
Exactly. Well,
we're
nonetheless,
just-
he's going to be doing this trip. He's got low approval ratings at home.
30%.
He does not have a strong mandate from this country to get any kind of cross-Pacific partnerships going because he scuttled anything with Obama's name on it. So he ruined years of work that every one of these Asian countries put time and money into. They don't like that, what he's doing. The United States is not supporting our allies in the Pacific against Chinese expansion into the South China Sea. We've got North Korea, and again, we're not supposed to be talking all the major talking points, but everybody's so concerned about North Korea and Trump wanting to put nukes in Japan and South Korea and rebolstering that stuff. We get it. We got a tough military. We're strong. They know that. We know that. They know that we have nukes. We know that they have nukes. We're not afraid to use ours in response. But at the same time, he's still going to go over there. He's still going to make fun of the Rocket Man, as he calls, and I hate to keep using terms that he's used. But he's going over there, and I have a strong feeling he's going to make us look foolish.
I think so too. And Obama made it a very, very strong point, or at least a strong part of his agenda during his presidency, to really open up the U.S. involvement in
towards
Asia. The Asian pivot, because that is where power is concentrated now. China's a big player, and what I'm most interested in seeing right now is his visit with Xi Jinping in China, because right now China, the way that they're positioning themselves is that they're filling in the void that's being left by the U.S.
and all
right
of our
now.
infighting and isolationism.
Yeah, and
Also
I mean
Germany.
Germany's got Europe.
Yeah, Germany's got Europe. They're definitely a
busy.
major
They're busy
player,
right
but they're
now.
not
They're
filling
busy.
any power void aside from in
Hello,
Europe.
you've reached Germany.
But-
We cannot answer the phone right now. We're busy running Greece.
but again, like you just said, a lot of these people have strong mandates, and Xi Jinping just got, after the every 5 years that they have the
5-year plan, yeah.
the 5-year plan in the Communist Party, he was actually added to their constitution or their major document in China, putting him only in the company of Mao Zedong, and I forget someone else's name that came a little after him. But this is pretty much making him the king of China, emperor of China, for as long as he wants. So again, like you just mentioned, Trump is going at a time where his political stake is weak, and all of these people right now just got mandates to govern by their people, and they're in very strong positions, and this is something Trump doesn't like. And right now, a couple of things are up in the air. China, hedging for power, left in the void of the U.S., the Trans-Pacific Union that we got out of, the war, the nuclear possible war with North Korea that you had mentioned. So it's just all these things up in the air right now, with Duarte, the drug war, the strongmanship that he's been showing, and the lack of,
he has a lack of any empathy towards people.
No human rights, anything. Yeah. So, and Trump's a big fan of his. So I want to see how he meets with all of them. I haven't really seen anything as far as specifics on the agenda of what is going to take place in these meetings, but there's a lot at stake right now in Asia. And to be fair to Trump, a 13-day swing in Asia is tiresome for any president. So, I mean, he physically is going to be tested. He has problems going in at home right now. He's politically weak. He is going to make us look bad. I have the same feeling that you have. He's going to go over there. He's going to bomb. He's going to do
We're not bomb literally.
Hey,
careful, we can't say bomb.
We're being figuratively.
Hey, no spoilers.
No spoilers, guys. This is the no spoiler review.
It's just going to be embarrassing because so many of these countries are our allies. They are people that we have military cooperation and protection treaties with, where we have to defend them if something goes wrong. If he stopped in Taiwan, that would just be it. China would just be like, all right, we're done. Give us all our money back.
I hope he's not
going
going
to
to
do it.
Yeah,
What if he just goes there by accident? When he's being interviewed and he said we bombed Syria, and she's like, no, you mean Iraq? He's like, yeah, that's what I meant. Greatest memory in the world, by the way. And he just ends up landing in Taipei or going into Taiwan, and he's just like, I'm glad to be in the Philippines. This is the greatest country in East Asia. He's going to say something stupid, and he's going to make us all look bad. And while he's doing that, Congress is going to pass some law making it illegal to be a different color than white, or that's going to tax people for buying shoes. And, something is going to go under the radar while we're all pivoted towards that television.
And another scary thing is the reports out of the White House from his own staff, because, again, everything in the White House leaks nowadays, is that he has been so blindsided and so caught up with Mueller's indictments that he pretty much skipped out on any of the meetings that he had for planning for this trip and getting ready for it this whole week.
He's going to wing it. He's going to wing it.
He's going to wing. How the hell do you wing this?
Even we prepare for this show. And
yeah.
This is, an hour and a half?
Yeah. And
Okay,
13
you do understand he's been winging the whole presidency.
no,
right?
do.
Like,
I do. It's just that
just
there's this naive part of me that just thinks that maybe one day, possibly, he's going to take some part of this job seriously.
why?
After his
led
meeting
you
with
to
the
believe
president of
that?
the Virgin Islands.
Because I have to believe that someone in his freaking administration actually believes in what they're doing, even if I don't agree with their points. I
Again,
believe that they believe, and they
Pence
have.
Why?
Yeah, and but if he doesn't take it seriously, they can't even push across their own agenda. So he's gonna go over there
Mike
and
Pence
just
is sitting in the
wow.
Oval Office right now, just pretending.
trying it on,
He
just
he's
trying
like,
it on.
I'm gonna get this
you
chair
know.
resized.
My family picture might look nice over here, you know,
We're gonna just hang a giant cross over a picture where the president's pictures are supposed to be.
with a white Jesus. But
Speaking of which, you know what the White House would have looked good in?
what?
With Bernie Sanders in it.
Oh, awesome. But are we gonna do that now?
Yeah, we
Then
might
are we
as
getting
well.
to? All right,
I think
so
we should.
so we'll
We're
tune
gonna
back
talk
into
about
next week after the thing. But just guys, keep your eyes open. All right,
Yeah.
13 days in Asia. All right.
September 7th, a day that Democrats will always remember.
So
Donna Brazile.
so we're doing the rundown.
You might as well.
Okay.
Donna Brazile, September 7th, said when she found out the DNC collusion
Yeah.
with Hillary Clinton to basically they said that they're going to allow Hillary Clinton to run all of their fundraising and such things like that, giving her proxy control of the entire party.
As long as she helps pay the debt.
Basically. And so Debbie Wasserman Schultz just completely ignored everything that was going on, didn't tell anybody anything. So when Donna Brazile says that she found out on September 7th, she said her heart was broken. And I feel for her because she probably legitimately believed, wow, Bernie Sanders, they just double gave him the finger. They didn't get, I mean, in my mind, I supported him. I campaigned for him.
I did too.
I believe he would have beaten Donald Trump. And it doesn't matter
I do
talking
too.
about things in retrospect like that. What really matters is that the DNC under Hillary Clinton basically took away our democracy. They took away our voice. They took away our ability to choose our primary candidate because they scheduled 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock debates, or they only let 3 happen.
On Sundays when everyone wanted
Exactly.
to watch football
Exactly.
games.
And, I don't want to harp on Hillary Clinton too much. She's a private citizen. I'm not one of those lock her up people. I mean, if you go after her for whatever, she did something wrong, that's fine, let it be. But the point is that in a court case, the DNC put forth the many position points, one of which was that because they're a private
Yes.
political organization, that somehow they're not under the jurisdiction of the American government. Or
But
the court
how does
system.
that make sense?
They basically are saying that we can choose how we want to do business with ourselves. Just like any board of directors can do what they want with their company, regardless of what the shareholders say. I mean, we as voters in a Democratic primary, if you're registered as a Democrat, you're technically a shareholder.
Yeah.
Superdelegates had no choice but to vote for her. They
I know.
were strong-armed into it. I don't believe in the superdelegate thing at
No,
all.
I think the GOP does it right in that and not having it.
Well, the GOP didn't do it, and now they got Donald Trump. So both sides
Both
have
sides
their
have an
problems.
argument for it. Yeah, you're
So,
right.
when you have things like that where their argument is we're not beholden to anybody except ourselves, that's wrong.
But look,
They keep that under wraps. They don't want people to know that because Democrats do vote in their primaries. We do come out and
Yeah.
and enforce.
but did we just not hurt ourselves by now this coming to light? I mean, it had to come to light. I'm not saying I wish it
It's
shouldn't
really
have.
going to make a big difference
And
in the
again,
next
I think
convention.
Hillary's been punished enough. I think her punishment was losing to Trump. That had to be devastating for her.
Kind of like Bill Bergdahl. He spent 5 years under Taliban. He got no jail time. He went through enough. Besides the fact that Donald Trump wouldn't STF you.
The DNC needs to be punished, though.
They absolutely do.
I don't know what needs to happen to Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
She's gone already.
I don't know what needs to happen to the leadership in the DNC now.
I don't know what Tom Perez is going to do.
Yeah, was he involved in this in any way? I'm not really sure, right? He wasn't, right?
He was involved.
But they're carrying on as business as usual. There's still a big divide within the Democratic Party, and there's no clear leader for the Democratic Party. And we're coming up to a few months from, the real run of the 2018 midterms. So what do we need to do? I know Steve felt very strongly about this. I kind of didn't want to bring it up yet because I don't know how to fix it. But I know that you and Steve felt very strongly about it. So, I mean, Steve, what are your thoughts and
Okay.
what do you think should happen
All right.
to the DNC?
Okay. Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
We got to get that money.
This
Here's the thing.
is going to cause the Republicans to hold the House and possibly the Senate as well in 2018.
Wow.
Because and again, people keep thinking Donald Trump is a one-term president. We cannot get our shit together, right? This thing happened already, and we can talk about superdelegates all we want, but Hillary Clinton had more actual delegates, right? She got more votes than Bernie Sanders. That's a thing that happened. And I'm not defending this thing, but I think there's something that we lose here. Bernie Sanders was not a Democrat. Bernie Sanders did not raise money for the DNC.
Okay.
The DNC was going to be insolvent. And the Clintons came in and raised money for them. By the way, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Bernie Sanders all signed that same pledge. But Bernie Sanders didn't raise money. And I know there are going to be arguments as why should they raise money if it's Hillary's people in there. But they were going to be insolvent, and she saved them from that. And because she saved them from that, we're saying that she got to decide how the money was going to get spent.
Okay.
And just one other point here, and I'm not taking anything away from Donna Brazile, but why now?
Yes.
Because you have a book coming out that you want to put this thing out. And this just gives people, again, Hillary didn't write a book tearing down the DNC, right? Now, and again, let's be clear though. Let's be clear though. Donna Brazile was like, they left, she dedicated her life to this, and they kind of threw her out to the side.
Yeah,
threw her out to dry.
Yeah, she actually left CNN to do this, right? Because she was a
well,
contributor.
she got fired from CNN.
Well, she was
right?
going to slip the questions to Hillary.
Yes. So let's not pretend like everybody's hands are clear here.
Oh,
but
no,
again,
by no means.
this is not the fight we need to have now. This is not about pushing things under the bridge. But again, we're going to continue to have that fight and say these shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Listen, the reason people loved Bernie Sanders so much, we understand that the reason people hate Hillary so much is because there was an element of propaganda against her. There was a smear campaign running against her for 20 years. The Republicans never saw a threat in Bernie Sanders, so they never ran counter ops on him.
And there's some stuff that
And
came
so,
out of the closet for
let's
him,
be
you know.
clear, things would have come out and he would not have
He
been
said
the
some
white
racist stuff
knight.
in the past a
And
little
we
bit.
look for these white knights in the Democratic Party now. Nobody's going to be perfect. So we need to get this shit together and focus eyes on the prize. No matter how terrible a healthcare bill is, no matter how terrible a tax bill is, the Republicans, for the most part, will speak with one voice and push that shit down your throat. And we are continuing to fight each other. This is what they want, and they're all laughing, and they will take this to the 2018 and 2020 elections because we're still fighting about this shit. That ran over.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Ran over.
I can't lose our voices, though.
Yeah.
The DNC is going to tell us where it doesn't matter what
No,
we pick.
but that's what I'm saying. So I agree and disagree with you to a point. I doubt the timing, especially the week of the indictments coming out. Like, it definitely gave political cover to Trump in a sense, and then it kind of made the Dems look bad. You put this out there, people are, oh, look,
Maybe she
Trump
needed
might
a
have done
job,
this,
whatever.
whatever.
Threw some money.
But you're talking about the will of the people now. That she got more votes than Bernie. True, you're right.
But under what circumstances?
Under what circumstances? And when the DNC defends themselves by saying we're a private entity, we're allowed to make a deal because we're becoming insolvent, and she's going to give us money, so we're going to pick her, then that's not our voice anymore. I mean, that's a feel, and you're right.
Did Bernie raise money for the DNC?
No, but should he have
If he had gotten the nomination, you damn well better believe he would have.
Yeah.
Also,
But
decision
should
that
that be a
she had
prerequisite for
sway
you,
over
right?
Why
was
is raising
after
money for the DNC?
the decisions that
prerequisite to be president?
decisions that the Clintons had sway over was after she had secured the nominations. That's when she had sway over these.
No,
over
man,
these
that's not
decisions.
true, man.
That's not true.
And
Well
again-
beforehand.
Every operative, every major player, every
Hillary
head that
Clinton didn't go to certain states that she knew she had a lot of control in, that the Democrats had a strong hand in, like the Wisconsins and stuff. And it's not because she didn't go there. It's because a lot of people voted independent. 120,000 people in Wisconsin voted for independent parties when Trump won by 23,000 votes. It wasn't specific. I don't blame Hillary specifically for all of these things. I blame her and the machine behind her for not letting us have the right view, the right opportunity to see what the other options were. If Bernie Sanders was not ever so supposed to have been there, they should have just said, we're not letting you in because you're not a Democrat. But he followed the rules, became a Democrat, voted with them most of the times in the Senate, and he went on to be in a primary with almost no backing, no money, and gave her a run for her money.
it just didn't come across as fair.
He won
And-
states that she could not have possibly won against Donald Trump.
Yeah, like he won Wisconsin.
He won Wisconsin. He won the Alabama. He won the Bible Belt
Again,
in the primary.
without the counter ops run against him, we don't
Well, yeah, you're right. We don't know what
would have won, and I don't think that this is productive. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Like we need to if unless we just want the Republicans to stay in power and we want Donald Trump to win the presidency again, so we can cry about this shit in 2020. Or we can deal with it, like, just move forward.
I personally didn't want to bring it up today because I think, not that it's irrelevant, but like you right now, I don't think it's the timing is right for it, which is the only thing that really bothered me about it. And then finding out that he kind of got cheated true, I think she would have won, like you said, regardless. But it does give just this sense of that you got fucked. And for all the people that like Bernie, I think all this propaganda that would have came out from the right, like you're saying, would have come out. I think that it wouldn't have mattered to the people that were Bernie's base the same way that Trump's base doesn't matter what. Bernie had a stronger, more loyal base than Clinton, and Clinton had a more fickle one. I voted for Clinton over Trump, but I did it holding my nose.
Yeah.
You get me? And that's all.
And there's a lot of people that stayed home, and there's a lot of people that's going to say, well, the DNC is messed up, so I'm going to stay home in 2018.
But I think the DNC needs to be fixed from the inside out, and it shouldn't be a private entity that picks our public, leaders, our political leaders. I don't think that's fair, and it's another problem of our country and the way that campaign finance works. I just think
you should get rid of the DNC.
We should. I think we should, or at least not make it. We're not making a private entity. Make it beholden to the actual, to us.
Open primaries.
Yeah, open primaries would be a fix, and then just to the superdelegate thing. For better or worse, yeah, superdelegates in the GOP could have saved it from having a Trump presidency, but I don't think they had their shit together in 2016, 2015 when they started running. I mean, they had 16 people running, many of them having various different platforms. I think at the end of the day, the big win for the GOP was that they allowed the will of the people to be put forth, and it was Trump. As shitty as that is,
agreed.
It was the will of the people, and the Republican Party ate it, accepted it, and I gotta give them kudos for that. Mm-hmm. I have to. Because it's the right way to go.
Did Hillary get more votes than
Yes,
Bernie?
she did. And
did she get more normal delegates, non-super delegates?
Yes, and that's
okay.
fine.
And but that doesn't count as the will of the people.
No,
it
doesn't
does.
when you've colluded. No. Just like it doesn't matter if an NFL team wasn't going to hire Colin Kaepernick, if they can prove that they did something to prevent it, whether or not they were going to, if they can prove that they did it, then it's collusion.
It's the optics of it.
Exactly.
Bernie supporters.
We thought we were getting.
Was it illegal?
Yeah. No.
It was not illegal.
It wasn't illegal. No.
They all signed the pledge.
Yes.
The DNC would have gone bankrupt.
Okay.
She saved the DNC. Bernie did not raise money for the DNC.
So you're pro bailout? You think that a bailout legitimizes it? That's basically what you're saying, that because she bailed out the DNC, that all of a sudden that she's now in control. Just like if Barack Obama bailed out the auto industry, why isn't he president of GM right now? He bailed them out and they paid it back.
It's not the same thing.
It is some of the same thing, because if the DNC was going to be insolvent and Hillary Clinton came in and raised a bunch of money for them, used her name and Bill Clinton's name to raise money, going around bringing money in, and just because Bernie Sanders and the governor of Maryland and her signed this pledge to raise money for them, the point was that it was an election. It's an election. It's not a business, and we were misled. The people were told that we were getting a fair shot, that Bernie would get a fair shot, and he didn't, because behind closed doors they did everything they could to make sure that he did not get as many votes as he could have gotten if they hadn't done it.
But look, and
that's why Debbie Wasserman Schultz was pushed out in the first place.
She should have been out way before that.
What specifically was done wrong?
I mean, oh my goodness, we don't have enough time to go over that.
But like,
we're talking about the fact that they
explain to me how Bernie.
Okay, strong arm super delegates. I think they actually.
She won more super delegates.
No,
she won more normal delegates. So
yeah.
if you took
Again, but you're associating that with the fact that she got them on a fair shot. Yeah. She got them because people were told they had to do this.
To Steve's point, I think that she would have won regardless if things weren't how they were. But what I'm saying is,
I don't believe that at all.
Optically,
I don't think people want to believe that. Dude, it is always good to have this fantasy thing that it would have all been fine if Bernie ran and we wouldn't have Trump and we don't know that. World so again, okay. This is the shit, and I'm calling it right now. This is the shit why Trump will win again in 2020.
I don't know if this is the reason why he'll win again in 2020. Yeah, no spoilers. I don't know if he'll win again in 2020. That's up for debate. I agree with you that it might hurt the 2018 elections, but as me and Joe were just listening on the way on NPR, the gerrymandering is a bigger issue when it comes to winning in Congress nowadays, because the Republicans have been redistricting
too.
for about 10 years now. So I mean, it's a bigger problem at play when it comes to 2018
so
midterms.
that's what it is. Right then and there, to answer what you said, you want the all-encompassing right there is that the Hillary Clinton takeover of the DNC, the deals that they made with her and didn't allow Bernie Sanders in on or to give him even the opportunity to, regardless of whatever pledge they signed, it was gerrymandered against him to make it impossible for him to get the nomination no matter how much he did because they wouldn't give him airtime, they wouldn't put him on, they wouldn't promote him.
Those are true things.
Despite the fact that even though he still registered as a Democrat and changed parties, they still did not promote him the same way that they did to her. And behind closed doors, they made sure that anybody that supported the Democrats supported Hillary Clinton, or else they were going to be pushed out, just like Republicans try to say and the Bannonites try to say, if you don't support Trump, we're going to push you out. They're doing the exact same thing, but on the opposite end of the
I think
spectrum.
ultimately it just comes down to that it's bad optically. I agree that it came out at a bad time, but a lot of Bernie supporters felt cheated during the election. They claimed that there was some cheating, some rigging, there was no proof, and now that there's proof, you just piss them off. And I really believe that the people that would have come out for Bernie would have been closer to the Obama coalition that came out for Obama back in 08 and with less force.
Democrats still would have voted for
when
Bernie Sanders in
there
a
was no
general.
counter ops against Bernie. It's very easy to say. It would have been fine if it was Bernie.
I'm just saying it's the
Very
optics.
easy to put out that
I don't think-
hypothetical is all I'm saying.
We could go around in circles, I guess, with this. We could. But, so what's the next on the rundown? Papa John's and their
Papa
asshole
John's.
CEO.
Oh, God. I
So,
mean,
Joe, fill us in. You're the one
honestly,
that, you know.
I don't want to, be accused of libel or anything like that. I've never really enjoyed their food in the first place, but for someone to go around, for this guy to go to this NFL meeting and say that his sales on franchises are declining because of the kneeling protests and stuff like that is just
He's saying black guys kneeling are hurting his sales,
100%
basically.
ridiculous. Just like all the memes and things going around are saying, why don't you actually just have a better product? But I mean, this is not a person who cares about stuff like that. He's got a long track record of saying bigoted things, of saying things against the unions, against
Against his own employees.
against his own employees, saying that because you have to raise the price of a pizza by 14 cents, that you're going to lose all your business, which clearly you can lose business from something else. He thinks that was harming him, that the ACA was going to run him out of business. This billionaire with a ginormous mansion who sells pizza and franchises out and sells franchising rights with his little gimmicks onto better pizza, Papa John's. I mean, the man did the same thing that Donald Trump did. He privatized and made money off of his name rather than the product. Donald Trump has never had a good product.
No, the pizza's not that good.
Donald Trump has never had a good product out. And
Trump steaks, Trump wine, Trump whiskey, Trump University.
I mean, you could go over and over. He's selling his name, just like this Papa John is selling his name. He's not selling pizza. He's selling his name.
John
Is his
Shatner.
name Papa?
No,
Yeah,
John
well, his
Schnatter.
name is John.
No, John Schnatter?
Schneider, whatever. Just like
S-C-H-N-A-T-T.
Tammy Loren.
Tommy
He
Loren.
probably hates it when people mispronounce his name. But you know what? He doesn't deserve to have his name pronounced right because he doesn't care about anybody that works for him. He doesn't care about the people that buy his pizza. He cares about his shareholders and how much money they're giving him to build extensions onto his house or to buy him another car or to, get his face lifted or whatever plastic surgery job he gets done to put on his commercials. He's not selling a good product and he's not taking responsibility for anything, just like Donald Trump doesn't take responsibility for anything.
The way this came across to me,
he lost $70 million in net worth over 24 hours after that.
I think he complained about an 8% drop after the NFL season started, but I think overall, from what I've read, his stock has been down 24% before any of this happened. So I think it's just another case of, because this is Trump's America now, it's a pissed off white rich angry guy blaming black guys for kneeling for his business losing revenue, which is, I find, ludicrous. Like, how can you correlate black players in the NFL, fighting for their rights, and I get the whole controversy around it and the misinformation going on, but how can you correlate that?
Because he's a sponsor.
And then saying that my business is failing because of their actions. Like, dude, own up to it.
Yeah.
Like, for all these people who are saying, oh, if you're poor, you got to work your way out of it. If you want something, you go out and get it.
Bootstraps.
But then when you're losing freaking 28% of your freaking sales, oh, it's the black guys in the NFL right now kneeling that's hurting my company. No, it's not, bro. Own up, make a better product, be a good boss, help your employees out, and just put out a better better persona. Like, people just know that you're not a good guy, and this has been going out for a while now. It's not,
how many companies lost stock
pizza's
value?
terrible.
Yeah, how many companies lost stock value because of something Donald Trump said?
And this is a week after that. The Houston Texans owner came out and
don't let the inmates run.
Come on. So again, this is just where we are as a country, where we as a nation. I hopefully just for the moment in which these rich white people are getting away with saying some crazy
That's
ass
where
shit.
you get the Tommy Lorenz of
Like,
the world
yeah.
who can dress up an American flag and say it's not an
You know,
American
so-
flag.
so
It just happens to have
let-
stars and stripes and be red, white,
So
and
let's
blue.
get into
It'll
that.
make America great again.
Let's get into
all
that
over
before
it.
we get into the terrorist attack in New York.
Well,
So
I mean,
Tommy Lauren.
we'll have to do the quick version of all of it. Obviously, we're running on time still, but she is one of those people that panders to the lowest common denominator. She thinks because she has a pretty face, she can say whatever she wants and do the whole mean girl head twitchy. You did not just go there. She is. She's one of those.
She's aight.
She's
like,
one of
she,
those women. She's a mean girl. She's a mean
Yeah.
girl. Plain and simple. That's all she is. And I don't care if she says anything about us. I hope you say something about us on Twitter or whatever.
Yeah,
go
right?
on a little rant, girl, because you're nothing at the point of
No.
when it comes to actual political discourse. When you're actually talking about things that matter to people. Because if you want to say that your Make America Great Again flag costume was the most patriotic thing that you could ever wear, try telling that to a soldier.
Yeah.
Try telling that to a Gold Star family. Try telling that to
wear
a
that
Marine.
flag on their coffin.
Yeah, they have
while
to,
you're wearing it on your back like a Batgirl costume.
Yeah.
While you're pissed off that NFL players are using their their stance in their community to kneel down and
They're not kneeling on the
They're not
flag.
kneeling on the flag or for the flag. They're kneeling down to bring attention to a matter, right? But then you say that's un-American, but then you go and wear a Make America Great bikini with a freaking, flag as a cape and say that's the most patriotic thing. You're a fucking hypocrite, and anyone who agrees with you is a fucking hypocrite. And that's all I have to say about Tommy Lauren.
Yeah, well,
Done.
she doesn't
Right
deserve
over.
that much more
No,
of
she
the
doesn't.
conversation.
She
But
doesn't.
when you talk about people's responses to things, where,
It's
Stephen Paddock can kill and injure over 500 people. But
and we
the second-
can't talk about gun control and politicize
But
it.
then the second a Muslim hurts 5
Allahu
people,
Akbar,
8
and then we
people,
gotta freaking stop
yeah.
Muslims from coming
Yeah.
in. We gotta put up walls. We gotta let we gotta
Death
stop brown
penalty
people.
for everybody.
We gotta stop doing the lottery, even though that's not how it works. But Trump just has to say something, right? But how long did it take Trump to say anything, or has he said anything about
No,
the
and
Las Vegas
listen,
shooting? No.
Colorado just had a shooter in a Walmart. Scott Ostrom was his name.
Yeah,
Shot
and
3
no one's
people.
talking about that.
Nope.
No,
Walks
Trump
to
didn't-
Walmart, just starts shooting people. They go back to his apartment, find stacks of Bibles everywhere. Everybody knows him as this crazy guy that walks around a karate gi. That's mean.
So
angry,
should we stop?
never
So
has
should we
visitors.
ban Christians from coming in the country?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Should
Using
we
using
ban
the
production
GOP
of the
mentality.
Bible?
I don't know.
Should we tell people they can't go to Walmart anymore?
Should Christians not run for office like Roy Moore thinks in Alabama that Muslims shouldn't run for office? I don't know. It's craziness out there.
But he won't say anything about that because
Yeah.
Tribeca, and because the guy was brown and had a beard. Still a terrorist. Scott Ostrom's a terrorist. Steve Paddock is a terrorist. They're all terrorists. There's no differentiation.
Yeah,
in them.
we're not apologizing for what this asshole did. I don't even want to say his name. He was in the wrong.
What's the Vegas guy's
Shooter's name?
Steve Paddock.
Yeah, apparently Trump says he got his wires crossed. It's just
Oh
Poor
my god,
guy.
poor guy. He got his wires crossed and he killed how many people? How many people died? Again, 48.
500 people were injured.
injured, but I'm saying how many-
69 people died. Something like
Oh, and then Trump
that. Dozens.
chalks that up to getting his wires crossed.
Yeah. Brown
Thank
guy-
you, President
Brown
Trump.
guy Muslim runs over people in New York City. Kill them. Ban them all.
Stop bringing them in the country.
White guy runs over people in Virginia. Oh, there's good people on both sides.
Oh, they're just
Speaking
they're
of,
just
they're
they're
just
expressing
misunderstood.
themselves, and he just wrong pedal.
And when his supporters can't see that, that's what gets me angry. Because look, I'm objective, and I get it. We probably sound like Trump bashers. I'm not a Trump supporter. If I find some common ground with him or something I agree with him, I will. I swear to God on this show, I will. It's just, it's hard to get past all this BS from his supporters in which they yell about this guy from Patterson, but then ignore the Las Vegas shooter or the Walmart shooter again. It's just, dude, if you want to believe in something, believe in it when it's not convenient for your argument, not just when it's convenient for your argument, because then that's just bullshit, and that turns me off. And then I'm not going to think that you're objective about anything if you're not taking everything into account and putting blame where blame is. You get me? It was a horrible act. This guy should be in jail. I'm glad he survived that gunshot wound because now we can interrogate him. We can put him in jail, put him on trial, whatever. But treat everyone the same.
Well, just the same as you have that guy, and they're saying, well, if you keep him and you don't execute him, blah, 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 he becomes a martyr. What about Scott? What about Steve? Are they not martyrs for this white supremacist, crazy gun lobby that wants to shoot everybody and thinks, I can assert my will over you, but you can't assert your will over me?
Yeah. And when do we not talk about mental health when it comes to these things? A lot of these people are in medicine.
We got to cut $1 billion from
right.
healthcare.
I mean, I think the way that we kind of help deter some of this behavior is that we have to stop making it something that makes the rounds on the news for weeks on end after it happens, in which we're flashing their photos on, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, saying his name 100 million times. Because yes, we have to pay respect to the people that were injured and hurt. It's tragic, it's sad, it's wrong, it's disgusting. But some of these people just want to be infamous for 5 minutes, and now society is just that. You commit an atrocity, and you're Facebook famous. Your face is on CNN for a week and a half, and
Why
these
people still know Hitler's name?
yeah, and these lunatics think that that's all that they need and want, and then they're gonna be dead afterwards. This guy probably thought he was gonna get freaking 25 bullets in from the NYPD, which I'm honestly surprised it didn't happen,
I am too.
and I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad they showed some restraint because this guy needs to be put through due process, not because
Humans have shame for a
yeah,
reason.
and not because he's an American or because he needs to be given rights. No, he's a terrorist. He's a piece of shit. But we need to find out why he did what he did. Was there some real radicalization in the terms that ISIS reached out to him, or is this a mentally unstable person from New Jersey that for whatever reason in his mind thought he was fighting for ISIS and this is a lone wolf
I mean,
act?
the man had 3 kids and a wife.
Yeah,
so,
there's something happened, and there's differences there. And again,
did his
not to
wires
be
get
all
crossed?
maybe his wires got crossed. And again, not to be conspiratorial, but the day it happened, it just, I don't know. But
It's the same thing happened with the last couple of shootings. It's always right after something happened. We got these indictments, and bam, that happens. And then this guy running around in Colorado, obviously a lone guy, did his own thing. You don't ever want to sound like you're spreading a conspiracy theory, like multiple shooters for JFK or something like that, which we will never know because there's still 300 documents unreleased. But you have to. People that don't look at things from any angle but what's right in front of them. I mean, there's a reason why we can turn our heads left and right.
Okay, just in regards to this conspiracy theory thing, I think why it may seem that way, and I think the thing that we're missing here, it doesn't matter when this happened. There's a scandal every day in the White House, so it's not like if it happened a week before, there would have been a completely different scandal. So it's not to say that this is to cover up any scam. It's
No,
a
it's
thing.
not. I'm
It's
not
a
even
terrible
talking
thing
about
that
it as a
happened.
conspiracy to cover up. I'm talking about the conspiracy to distract. The conspiracy is that, yes, these things probably happened on their own without the FBI or the CIA or the president telling them to do it, or some Russian oligarch saying kill Americans.
because again, he's not from the Middle East.
Exactly.
He's
He's from Uzbekistan,
Yeah.
and that's Central Asia.
but he looks Muslim.
But the thing is,
Or
he is a Muslim.
Yeah,
but
he is a Muslim.
He looks like what people stereotype Muslim to be.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome. But the thing is, it's not a conspiracy to say to suggest that these things happen because someone put them up to it. It's a conspiracy because it's used as a distracting point to make people not pay attention to the things that are actually going on and to make them not actually pay attention to the way to fix the problem. People love talking about the problem. We love. I mean, when the Tribeca attack happened, when the shooting attack happened, the people right there in the vicinity, they run, they hide, they do whatever they can. But then when you're a safe distance away, you get your camera phone out. You start hanging around, you crowd up, you block police, and you're a crowd. Oh my God, I want to see, I want to be one, I want to be involved. Me. I was there. Oh my God, my emotions.
I'm reporting safe on Facebook.
Yeah, my
yeah.
emotions are so distraught. I feel my heart goes out, thoughts and prayers, but please keep the camera on my face. I know I'm saying that right into a camera on a podcast, but I'm not me. I'm talking about all of these people. There were, when the shooting happened in Las Vegas, there were hundreds and hundreds of people that were hurt. There were people that threw themselves on top of their loved ones' bodies to block bullets, just like what happened in Aurora, Colorado. There were people that selflessly defended, and I don't know a single one of their names. But I know who did it. I know who pulled the trigger.
And that's
I know
a problem.
how it happened. I know that somebody got a gun and went nuts and did that. I know that someone got it in their head that there's nothing worth living for, and they're going to take out as many people as they can. People want to say Sandy Hook didn't happen. I believe it happened. I believe that there are small coffins buried all over that town because
And our hearts go out to those parents.
Yeah, of course.
That's.
But you can't just do thoughts and prayers. It's not just a thoughts and prayers thing. It's an action thing. We are human beings. We have a finite time on this earth. If we're not going to do something about the Paul Manaforts and the Bannons and the Trumps of the world and the Paddocks.
Yeah, the people who are really stealing from
These
us,
crazy
conspiring
people
against
that
us.
bomb abortion clinics and they say Black Lives Matter, people are terrorists.
Roy Moore's out there
The
that
Roy Moores,
Muslims
the
and
Nazis.
homosexuals can't be in, can't hold office.
No one's going to do anything, but they're going to love talking about it. They love putting it on camera. They love showing you all these things, but they don't love showing us how we fix it. You get like the people that go to the counter protests against these white supremacist rallies, and they hold their signs and they show that there are people out there that will stop it, but it's hundreds of people in a country of hundreds of millions, and we're just sitting back and we're letting it happen. And I hope with shows like this and with other people that get inspired to do something, that it becomes more than just saying something on Facebook. Like, I thought everybody in the world heard everything I said on Facebook, and you get 2 likes, 3 likes. Maybe 1,000 people might see this podcast one day, but at least, when we get done this, we're still talking to people. We're not just
and we're trying to figure out
something.
solutions, because to your point, I think it's hard sometimes to give answers to these issues.
Yeah, and even
And
like-minded people can get fired up about something.
Yeah,
about an
or
issue.
see things differently. Or, for example, when we were talking about taxes before, it took me a while to even grasp the basics of it, because I don't like numbers, I don't get it. But we're here talking about it because we care, and we're trying, again, to find solutions, or at least educate enough people to feel a certain way, or feel a certain type of way about it, and educate yourself. And again, you don't have to agree with us, but it is a me thing now. And I think that's an issue. And some of these things are hard to figure out. The answers aren't as simple, but we should be looking more for the answers than just looking at the spectacle of what happens, and then just feeding into it and trying to be part of the spectacle. Again, it might sound insensitive. I get so annoyed after every tragedy when people change the profile picture, or my heart goes out to this, prayers to this. Then 3 days later, you're posting again about your food or how drunk you got at a party, or like I do, all about my kids. I get it. Our lives continue, they move forward, but just stop with this caring. It just do something about it.
It's disingenuous.
Yeah,
and it kind of makes all people look bad. Like, what if aliens are really looking at all this stuff? Like, what if they see everything once in a while and they're like, geez, these living things hate each other. Why are they all together?
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that, but I guess maybe we can just wrap everything up by saying it's not me, it's you.
And again,
viewers, the people that actually care, the
Yep.
people that are doing things, that say something. They're not just tweeting "fuck you" because I disagree with you. The people that are saying, that are actually thinking about their responses and genuinely questioning why they believe what they believe, and not just towing a line, whether it's a Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, and be part of the conversation. I mean, we're on Twitter at the second page, the 2ND page.
PG or PAG?
Damn, producer, can you hook me up with that one? Is it P?
Yeah, what do we decide on?
Screen, but it's 2ND.
Oh, it's on the screen.
What screen?
What screen?
Am I trapped? Oh no.
I don't know if you guys know this, but you've been on camera this whole time.
What? No way.
This mic was hot the whole time.
Whole time.
You know what? You're not
Grab her
Steve
by the
Johnson
pussy.
anymore. You are Billy Bush all day. Billy Bush behind the mic.
But again, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Again, leave us your comments, thoughts. You don't have to agree with us. Be part of the conversation. Tell us what you're interested in. We might be covering that, but in a week or two, we'll be going live soon. And
Well, we'll have some guests on eventually too. And hey, listen, you never
Well,
know,
if you're
right?
watching this, we're live now.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
watching
if
this,
you're watching
we're
this
live
live.
now. But I mean, honestly, we love
Still
to,
working out the kinks.
People are what make the whole point of a podcast. We're not talking into the camera so we can go home and watch it ourselves. We're not talking to moms and dads, at home, and our kids. We're talking to you. We're talking to everybody out there who might not care about what they're saying on CNN, Fox, NBC, Breitbart, and all these things. Maybe you actually just want to hear two regular people, from different backgrounds. Maybe we have a lot in common, but we're still different people. And maybe you want to hear someone like that. Maybe you want to throw in your conversation because you know that we're the type of people that will listen, will think about it, we'll be like, hey, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. Maybe one day you'll convince me that I was wrong. My girlfriend would never believe that, but but it's a possibility, and that's the whole point. Eventually, I'd love to maybe even see somebody who has an inspirational thing or something to change their mind, be on the show, regular Joe Schmo.
Yeah, let us know. And with that, thank you.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
thanks for tuning in to episode 103. Catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, no, Bronco? Yeah. So, World War III.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Are mics still on? We still hot?
Definitely.